What's going on, you guys? Good to see you. Welcome to the Halloween stream. We're going to be hitting Pokemon tonight. Scary stories, ghost videos, reactions, whatnot. We're going to be getting started here in just a bit, and hopefully we're going to have a good time. So we'll be back in just a bit. Keep an eye on the timer. If you're watching this video, go ahead and skip ahead, and we'll be caught up. Well, it happened again. It happened again. 8 o'clock on the dot. Well, nearly. And yet, cursed. Cursed. I'm hitting the mic. I'm not used to this. Ay. Okay, so, long story short, Pokemon Go, cranky old lady, front yard, shiny Meowth acquired, but, well, pretty self-explanatory, I think. Never mess with an old gypsy woman that will, curse you. Basically. What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Halloween stream tonight. I'm afraid I'm a little, tired. This curse has kind of worn me out, but we're here. Luckily, it only lasts about 10 minutes, but it only seems to happen when I stream. We got a lot going on tonight, though. We're doing scary stories, ghost videos, Pokemon raids, so on and so forth. So happy Halloween. Oh, hairball. Yeah. That's what I get for licking myself. Moving on. Hey, Dabs, how are you? And we got Goku and Sims and Watchtower. What's going on, y'all? Good to see you. I can't. It's hard to see right now. I haven't adjusted to the light yet. But yeah, not bad. Anyway, hope you guys are having a good night. Hope you're having a happy Halloween. We hit Last of Us earlier. Had a great time. Thank you guys that popped in and said hi and hung out for a bit. Big shout out to the new followers as well. To Cole and Takeaway. Welcome to the squad. I'm good. I kind of figured. You said I'm here and hello like 4 times. So, hi. Hi. I know. There we go. That's good. Okay. But no, seriously, I hope you guys are doing good. Oh, wait a minute. You're watching me on TV. Why? TV rots your brain. You should be watching on a computer, stuck in front of a computer for 12 hours a day. That's best practice. That's what I learned growing up. And I got hair all over my mic again. I hate this. Oh, it could be worse. Could have to blow my nose. Yeah. Anyway. Good evening, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this off. I'm going to try to get off live on stream. Make of that what you will. Doggy style, even. Huh? Anyway. I'm going to go BRB. Then when we get back, we're going to be hitting Pokemon. Hopefully having a great time tonight. And hope folks hanging out here in about an hour or so. It's nice. So large. Nice. Awesome. Well, glad to have you. No, not the curse of Harry the werewolf. Harry? Really? I mean, I get it. I named my pet bear Barry. So, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, Hairwolf. Ooh, Hairwolf. That's my new name, Hairwolf. Yeah, I like it. Hairwolf. Anyway, I'm going to try to get this curse worn off real quick. I'm going to grab a Gatorade. I'm going to grab some candy. And then we're going to hopefully have some fun tonight. In about an hour or so, we'll be doing ghost video reactions for about half an hour. Via random videos that, you guys may suggest or I may find, we'll see. But in the meantime, I've also got to find some real quick, scary stories we can listen to while hitting raids and whatnot. Alright? So, we'll be back in a few minutes. If you are not here when I get back, thank you for popping in for the first few minutes to check out my curse and laugh at me. Totally understand. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and sometimes you just got to wolf down an enemy. Anyway, I'll see you guys in just a couple minutes. We'll be right back. Because this thing is driving me. Can't sleep. I can't. Where am I going? Where's the mic? Oh, there we go. Alright, be right back. We be back. There was an applause. I didn't see that. I should have, but I didn't. All right. So it's good to see everybody, y'all. Happy Halloween. Big shout out to Dabs. It's been a bit. Glad to see you're doing okay. Hopefully. And of course, the Watchtower, Goku. Everybody else has popped in. Sim was here. And we're gonna hopefully have a good time tonight. Now we got to find some ghost stories to listen to. And hopefully I can do that. So totally forgot I had that going. Hold on a minute. There we go. All right. Let's find. I'd say, but I'm going to end up probably turning off the game sound. But we got to find some scary stories to listen to. I got a little bit of candy. Sadly, I don't think I'm going to have any trick-or-treaters tonight. Which kind of sucks because I put up some decorations outside. But then again, pandemic, so it makes sense. But let's go ahead and find some scary stories that we can listen to and perhaps die by. Who wouldn't want to die on Halloween? I ask you. Hi, Halloween. Dying on Halloween is like dying on Christmas. It's such a gift, don't you think? Such a treat. Ha! Oh, I kid myself. God, I'm weird. All right, let's see. Scary stories. Let's see. I need a good long. Ooh, you know what? Yes. Here we go. Some of y'all may have heard these, but we're gonna listen to scary stories to tell in the dark. More scary stories to tell in the dark, I should say. Let me see how this is. Hold on 1 minute. Let's test this.
Something was wrong. One morning, John Sullivan found himself walking along a street downtown. He could not explain what he was doing there, or how he got there, or where he had been earlier.
Riolu!
He didn't even know what time it was.
I'm cool with that.
He saw a woman walking toward him and stopped her. "I'm afraid I forgot my watch," he said, and smiled. "Can you tell me the time?" When she saw him, she screamed and ran. Then John Sullivan noticed that other people were afraid of him.
Okay. I'll stop there. Hold on, let's get a link. What is this? Other side of the box. A horror short from Caleb J. Phillips. Couple receives a mystery package from an old friend. Okay. Question is, will this cause me a copyright? Because I'm looking for royalty-free. This is where the stuff gets a little scary at times. I'm in and out. Okay. Giggity. Listen to Lovecraft Call of Cthulhu. Nice. Dabs is taking dabs. Ah, I see. Fair enough. Okay, let's see. All right, well, here's one. This one goes for about 50 minutes. Let's do this real quick.
Chilling tales for dark nights.
I gotta turn it down a little bit, though. Short and shivery, top 10 plus scary stories. Nightmares in 5 minutes or less.
You. Written by Nicola Torch. Performed by Daniel Radcliffe.
What?
Audio production and music by Jeff Clement.
I knew something was stirring, but I didn't want to know what. I knew something was watching me, but I didn't want to watch back. I opened my eyes, wondering what I would see, hoping I wouldn't feel her presence there, stood, head bowed with her piercing, menacing eyes. However, I was again disheartened by the fact that she was there. She was here. I knew she was. She has been with me for so long that how could I forget her?
You know, I kind of want to gamble with this. I'm not lying.
Grudgingly, a chill darted across my body like a firework in midwinter. My heart skipped a few beats, and I knew that she would be aware of it, especially in the dark. Ghosts use the night as their playground. They can dance on their dwelling without a care in the world. They feed off fear, and they use that fear as a drug, which propels them into a state far worse than even their worst nightmares. My eyes were open wide now, and fixed on the girl who had haunted my slumber for so long, and who was stood by my bedside looking.
Due to our immersion mode.
I gulped, and her expression changed. She was coming for me.
We'll go with
I
it.
knew it. She got closer and closer, until I could feel her icy breath whip across my cheek, and her vile stench of death bleach my senses. I collapsed under her grip, which was too tight to escape from. I felt my lungs compressed, my ribs snap like a twig. But then, out of nowhere, light bathed the room in colors I was familiar with. I twisted my head to the source of my previous pain, and she had vanished. She hated the light. In the light, nothing can hurt you. But in the dark, it is a completely different place, a place where even the strongest of people are most vulnerable. That is why she comes and goes. I know that in the dark, she can sense my terror.
I hate it when they come and
Hunts
go.
it down like a cat toying with her prey. The light is her only weakness. When a blanket of light erupts from the gap in my dusty curtains, I know that she has fled, until again the night comes, and she will be the stronger party and I the weaker once more. It's like a game of hide and seek, only you are being both sought and hidden.
Dude, he's a good narrator. This is a total gamble, by the way. Hopefully nothing comes of this. If you guys see the stream go down, let me know. Worst case scenario, they take the stream down.
Narrated by Joshua Sheets.
And then I just got to stop it and re-come back up, so.
I've been told several times before that I was an absolute nightmare to look after as a little kid. Between my fear of the dark and my sleeping problems, I apparently spent a lot of nights in my parents' bed, too afraid to sleep in my own room. Eventually, my parents got sick of the constant sleepless nights with me tossing and turning in their bed, and finally put their foot down, insisting I sleep in my own room. I responded in turn by flat out refusing to go to sleep without some kind of nightlight kept on in my room at all times. When my mom and dad tried to force the issue because they thought I needed to grow up, I'd sit there in bed screaming like a banshee and work myself into such a state I'd scratch the hell out of my arms and face and hit the wall until I had bruises everywhere.
Damn.
This apparently went on for years, yet I can't remember any of it, which doesn't really surprise me because for some reason I can hardly remember anything before I was about 8 years old. It's weird though. Even now, as an adult, I can't recall a single night that I didn't fall asleep with the PC or the television on in the background. Even when I would visit friends and stay over, I'd bring my old laptop with me so I had something to fall asleep to. I guess it's just one of those things that stuck with me, some deep, subconscious habit in the back of my mind somewhere that I can't get rid of. We've had some problems at home recently with the electricity, thanks to a late bill, and we ended up having to get a meter installed.
How's that look good?
The debt. I've tried to make sure I'm not wasting electricity wherever I can by switching off sockets and turning off lights when I leave a room. Basically any little thing that could make a difference. I still can't bring myself to turn off the computer or television before I go to sleep though. I just can't do it. The other night I was sitting in bed and drifting off to sleep when I heard the meter beeping out in the hall, warning me that the electricity was about to run out.
Oh, son of a... Damn.
I think I sat there for about 10 minutes or so, listening to that bloody noise and dreading what was coming.
Gotta do something.
Sure enough, the beeping stopped, and I heard the fan on the PC cut out as everything turned off. Then I was left in total darkness. I lost my shit pretty hard and buried my head in my pillow, trying not to panic when I suddenly heard the faintest noise in my ear.
God, you have no idea how long I've been waiting for this moment.
It was then that all those memories from my childhood came rushing back to me, and I remembered that it wasn't me who'd been responsible for the scratches and bruises all over my body. And I suddenly realized exactly why I was so afraid of the dark.
Damn. Oh, I gotta do something financially, so I don't want to put it on stream. We'll get started here in just a bit. I'm not scared. What are you scared? Oh, I ain't scared. What are you talking about? You scared? Shit. Something comes up behind me. That's scared like a bitch.
Written anonymously. Narrated by Otis Gyrie.
Also, I'm getting some candy.
Coffins used to be built with holes in them, attached to 6 feet of copper tubing and a bell. The tubing would allow air for victims buried under the mistaken impression they were dead.
Lifesavers and
Harold, the Oakdale graveyard,
Starburst and Hubba
wanted
Bubba.
to see if it was children pretending to be spirits. Sometimes it was also the wind.
That's what women
This
say when they
time,
see me.
it
Hubba
wasn't
bubba.
either. A voice
Actually, most of them tend to be
begged
speechless, mostly because they don't know I'm
she
there and
needed
tends to
to be unburied.
end in a restraining order. But I'll be right back.
Yo, Sarah O'Bannon?
Yes.
The voice assured. You were born on September 17th, 1827?
Yes.
The Redstone here says you died February 19th.
No, I'm alive. It was a mistake. Please dig me up, set me free.
Sorry about this, ma'am, Harold said, stepping on the bell to silence it and plugging up the copper tube with dirt. But this is August. Whatever you is down there, you ain't alive no more.
Candy whispering. I wish.
And you ain't coming up.
So basically, you want me to speak softly in your ear, is that it? Okay. Oh, okay, that's right. I can't do it. Damn.
Years ago, my family went on a vacation in Cape Cod, and we rented a small old house to stay in for 2
Surround
weeks.
sound.
On the main floor was the kitchen, the living room, and a bathroom. The bedrooms were on the second floor. There was a basement room downstairs with a washer and dryer, a sofa, and a television. On the first night, we were all awakened by a terrible scream from my sister's bedroom. When my dad burst into her room and turned on the light, he found her sitting up in bed, screaming and crying. My parents sat with her and comforted her until she finally calmed down enough to tell them what had scared her. She said that she had been awakened in the middle of the night by a horrible stench. When she opened her eyes, she had seen the entire bedroom soaked in blood, from top to bottom. There was blood all over the floor, bloody handprints on the wall, and blood spatter all over the ceiling. We all thought that she had just been having a nightmare, but she refused to go back into her bedroom and stayed in her parents' room for the remainder of the holiday. One evening, my mother was cooking dinner in the kitchen upstairs, and my father had gone out on an errand in a nearby town. My sister and I were in the basement room, watching TV, when all of a sudden, the light bulb popped, and the TV went off, leaving us in complete darkness. The basement was unfinished, and had old stone walls, making it a bit of a creepy place.
Trust me, he's scaring up at
For a
night.
few seconds, we just froze.
He's scary to me because he can tell y'all stories.
Then we started to
Oh
smell
shit, he's
something
seen,
horrible.
and you don't want to hear that.
It was a terrible stench, and when it hit our noses, we felt nauseous. It smelled like rotting flesh. The smell quickly grew worse and worse, and then we just heard a scratching in the darkness. Something seemed to be scratching at the floor or the walls. We screamed and began scrambling around in the pitch black, trying to find the door. Eventually, we managed to open the door and ran upstairs, screaming to our mother. We kept telling her about the disgusting smell, and we heard something scratching and scraping around down there. My mother eventually agreed to go down to the basement, replace the bulb, and check
I've
out
got your
the
links, by
source
the
of
way.
horrible
I'm
smell.
getting the ones you're sending.
She took a flashlight and a new bulb.
I'm just trying to, I gotta set
and
something up.
disappeared into the
My
darkened
payment
basement. As we waited for her
info
at the
is
top of
being
the
weird.
stairs,
I'm sorry, y'all.
we
Bear with me.
expected her to return quickly, but she seemed to be down there for an eternity. Suddenly, we saw her emerge out of the darkness and come running up the stairs. She slammed the basement door behind her and bolted it as fast as she could. She turned to us and we could see her face had completely drained of color. Her eyes were wide with fear, and she just said, "I don't want you going down there again." Then she went into the kitchen and called the police. We overheard her conversation on the phone and managed to figure out that she'd seen someone in the basement room. As she waited for the police
I think I
to
saw
come,
why.
we huddled together in the living room,
So you're ready for honey?
staring
Yeah,
at the
cool.
basement door. At any moment, we expected to hear someone banging on it or trying to break it down. My mother refused to tell us what
Problem
she had
is,
seen.
I gotta redo my
When the
Nintendo
police
Online.
arrived, My mother greeted them at the front door and ushered them inside.
Because I've been broke
She
till
unbolted
payday.
the basement door and they went down into the darkness with their flashlights out and their guns drawn. They searched the entire basement room but found nothing. There was no other way out of the basement. No windows, no doors. Whatever was down there would have had to come up through the basement door. After the police left, my mother finally revealed what she had seen down there in the pitch-black basement room. As she spoke, she became very still and quiet. She said that she had been changing the light bulb downstairs when she began to smell the horrible stench we had described to her. Then she started to hear a faint scratching noise. She shone her flashlight around the room and suddenly caught sight of something crouched between the washer and the dryer. It was a man, crouched on all fours. His clothes were tattered, his hair was wild and tangled, and his face didn't look human. It was twisted in an expression of pure
OnlyFans. It better be a good OnlyFans.
Split second, he looked up at my mother, his eyes reflecting the beam of her flashlight. Then he suddenly crawled forward and disappeared through the wall. When my mother saw him simply vanish into thin air, she dropped the flashlight and ran. After that, none of us would go down in the basement. We kept the door locked and bolted. Every night, we slept in our parents' room and locked that door too. We cut our holiday short a few days later and just drove home.
My son liked insects. Written by Maggie Louise.
My son licked insects.
Narrated by Rebecca Peason.
Mom?
Original music and audio production by Jason Hornack. My son was an adventurer. He was 4 years old and with a large fenced-in backyard. One could say he had all the places in the world to explore, and certainly all the time. I would allow him to play in the backyard where I could see him while I was doing chores around the house. During this time, he had taken a liking to insects, one of my worst fears. Even the smallest cricket hopping around outside could send me into hysterics. One day, I was cleaning the oven when my son came running in through the door, his hands full of squirming worms. After nearly barfing all over the floor and screaming for him to take them out, though actually saying, "That's so nice, Daniel! Great find! Now please get them out of here!" He rushed back outside. The amount of worms in my son's hands had been enough to give my worried mind nightmares for 2 days at least. But Daniel was having fun, and he was a kid. What could I say? This occurred a few more times until I gave in and bought him a small habitat that he could keep on the counter and put bugs inside. I would oftentimes find a caterpillar or katydid, which we would feed and then empty back outside. I knew he was having fun with his adventures and discovering a lot of new things about all these insects. It was like a big learning project. One day, he came in with squirming hands as I did the dishes. I watched him pour maggots into the tank out of the corner of my eyes. I cringed and ran over to him, demanding, "Where did you find these? They're absolutely disgusting and they can't be in the house!" They wriggled around a piece of something decayed and rotten, and the smell emanating from them was excruciating.
Wait for it.
My son just looked up and replied, "I'm sorry, Mommy. I found them in the bowls outside." "Bowls?" I asked. "Can you show me where you mean?" I followed Daniel out into the yard until he came to a part of our yard closest to the forest, where he dug several holes. There, in the holes, were carved out human skulls.
There it is.
Skin still attached to the outside.
Oh.
Maggots writhed in and out of the eye sockets and gaping jaws. Daniel just looked up at me and said, "I like all these bugs hanging out in our backyard."
Well, that kid's gonna go places, isn't he? Oh, man. You ain't that stupid, man.
OCD.
What we're going here, really?
Written by Edwin Crowe. Narrated by Steve Taylor.
Riolu, you want to do a max raid?
I have obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm not a germaphobe or a checker. I just really hate odd numbers. It's hard to explain. I just don't feel right and I have to rectify it. If I see one shoe on the floor, I have to find the other one before the anxiety becomes unbearable.
I feel that, actually.
I buy food in pairs. I have 2 cars, even though I only use 1. I was so delighted when my kids were born, and I had twins. Identical ones at that. They were the light of my life. And for the longest time, I got my OCD under control. It's amazing how the love for the children you created can change the way you think about things. How silly I was to think something as arbitrary as odd numbers could rule my life. Thank God for the miracle of life. When my daughter Sally became sick with pneumonia, it sent me into a depression. I watched as my sweet little child withered away. I sat on the chair next to her bed while the nurse came along and pulled the sheet over her face. Looking at the linen pulled taut over my daughter's face, my legs started jittering. Cold sweat gathered on my brow. I hate odd numbers. What do I do with the other one?
Damn.
Written by an anonymous author. Narrated by Craig Groshek. As you crawl through the rugged cave, you think to yourself, I can do this.
This guy's a DM.
It's not so bad. The hole you're crawling through is unbelievably small. Small enough that your body can just fit.
Reminds me of a date.
Turning around is not an option. The windy turns you crawl through make it nearly impossible to crawl backwards.
Oh, Riolu, the code's 85 4 times.
Separating you from complete darkness. It's your guiding lights. Your flashlight, however, is about to run out of batteries.
Hubba bubba.
But it's okay. Your friend crawling behind you has more than enough. According to your friend's calculations, you're only 200 yards in, with just 200 more to go. Your friend is an avid outdoorsman who loves exploring caves, so there's definitely nothing that can go wrong, right?
Hurry up, you move like my grandmother!
He yells. At which point you notice the hole you're crawling down seems to be getting smaller. Your friend tries to be funny and pushes you forward, knowing you're not used to this sort of experience. Then
I didn't want to go that way. Oh well. Wait, what'd I miss? What'd he say? I meant to go to the dragon. Damn it.
Hole is way too small. You try to wiggle your way through, but there's no use. Rock walls, you're stuck between press against your gear.
Corazón roto, in that right, tell me you it's nothing but a dream state.
A moaning.
Random.
Groaning sound coming from behind you, and your friend gets louder. 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 Your friend screams a blood-curdling cry, a scream no man should ever make, as he is dragged violently back through the cave in the blink of an eye. You hear his screams carrying farther and farther away. Your flashlight dies.
Dude. Have y'all ever seen Quarantine 2?
Written by The Itch.
That's a badass movie.
Created by Katie Von Clare, featuring Anne-Marie and Corbin Lawrence. Audio production, sound design, and original score by Nick Ledesma.
That is salty.
My little boy Tommy said, cupping some of the water in the palm of his hand. Of course it is, son. I chuckled. You know the ocean's salty.
You salty.
He exclaimed, and flung the offending liquid onto the sand. I came over and knelt down, leaving my paperback on the beach chair.
Daddy, apple! It burns!
I could see tears forming in his eyes. It's okay, son. I took his little hand and felt the wetness of the ocean water on my fingers. It was warm, and it tingled. Then the tingling increased, and the warmth turned to a heat. Tommy was right, it did burn.
Whoa.
Then he began to cry. And then from down the beach, I heard a scream.
Oh my God!
I stood and squinted through the bright sun reflecting off the sand. The scream was joined by others from all around me, and I could feel the terror of everyone on the beach becoming one rising wave of panic.
Acid?
I saw a young girl run in with the surf, screaming, her tanned skin melting over her bikini.
Oh.
A fat man in a Speedo ran in the water and fell. When his arms came up, they were bone to the elbow, with great flaps of dissolving skin hanging like cloth. A young man pulled his tiny daughter in by the arms, dragging behind her the stumps that had been her legs.
Oh.
I watched them come in, running, thrashing, falling, all of their skin melting from their horrified faces and revealing the white bone beneath. Tommy was crying, and high above, the sun beat down on the beautiful white sand of the beach.
Dude, that's fucked up. And of course, they don't tell you what it is. You should leave it to your imagination, huh? See, we're going to bits of fire type. I don't think I want to.
A Monster in His Closet.
Yeah.
By Brendan Dean. Narrated by Otis Chirey. Little Timmy loves to draw and color. He loves to play pretend with his friends on the playground. On the school bus, he talks and laughs with the children he's just met.
Oh, all right.
He is such a good boy. But Timmy thinks there's a monster in his closet. The closet door would open, and beyond the coats and tidy Sunday clothes, Timmy, he saw a face. The face of a monster, ready to swallow him.
Redhead.
Oh. When he was scared, he would always ask his parents to check the closet, and they would. They would even go as far as to check under the bed, just in case. Tonight, Timmy is especially scared. He's screaming for his mommy, his daddy, for rescue from the monster in the closet. But there is no monster. I'm just a lonely school bus driver. And Timmy's parents are lying on the floor next to me.
Oh! Wow.
Awkward moments.
School bus driver in your closet? Yeah, I dig that.
Matt Demirsky.
I had a janitor in mine.
Santa Maria.
Oh, but he was already dead, so
Audio
he
production.
didn't really scare me that much. He flinched every so often, but...
I always regret awkward social interactions, and I can't help but obsess for days over what I should have done.
Amen, brother.
This last one could have been particularly bad had I not chosen to avert disaster at the last moment. I was going for my daily run through the neighborhood when I noticed 3 kids playing, mostly unattended. The babysitter stood 30 feet ahead of me, talking on her phone, her attention elsewhere. One boy seemed to be about 8. A slightly younger girl threw a ball to him, caught it, then threw it to a much younger boy. He failed to catch the ball, and it bounced past him, somehow managing to fall into the slats of an old air conditioning unit out back of the nearest house. The unit was quiet, and the fan was offline, but it was a hot day out, and I slowed my run out of concern. The younger boy ran up to the unit, climbed on top and reached his arm down inside. "Hey!" I shouted at the boy. "That's dangerous. That fan could turn on at any time." Yeah. That's what I should have done, in retrospect. The kids would have screamed and run, thinking I was a dangerous stranger, but the boy would have pulled his arm out from the machine. Are you supposed to be watching those kids? I asked the babysitter as I passed her. Yeah. That's what I should have done. She would have rolled her eyes and told me to mind my own business, but she would have made him get down from there. I stopped in place and lowered my sunglasses, looking in the boy's direction. The babysitter would have noticed and only momentarily thought I was some sort of creep staring at the kids. But then she would have quickly seen the danger herself and ran over to him. Yeah. That's what I should have done. In the end, I chose to say nothing. I don't ever talk to people I don't know. I can't risk the embarrassment. I can't risk the endless replays I run in my head, worrying about what I should have done over and over and over.
Didn't get made.
As their myriad of horrified screams grew louder than the suddenly surging fan, as little red dots from the cloud of blood mist dotted my sunglasses.
Damn.
I sighed with relief. That could have been so awkward.
The kid got hurt, but man, it would have been awkward.
By Sterling Moore. Narrated by Jesse Cornett.
Wow. I kind of like that one in a dark way.
I fall flat on my face, blinking in shock. I go to push myself up. Nothing. My worst nightmare. I'm paralyzed. I want to scream, but my mouth isn't working properly. I can't breathe. I'm suffocating with my face half buried in the dirt. Soon, though, my panic begins to unexpectedly subside. I feel serene, weightless. Just in time, strong hands grip my hair and pull my head up off the ground. Looking back, I wonder dimly why my body stays behind.
Oh shit.
Night Watchman. Narrated by Jonathan Jones. When my partner hadn't returned from patrol, I reluctantly went looking for him on foot.
Good hit.
I found the patrol truck around the back of the empty warehouses abandoned in the darkness. Come on, man. I shone my flashlight across the buildings, then out into the woodland that surrounds us, only to see him standing motionless on the other side of the 15-foot-high security fence, staring intently out into the woods as if possessed. I called out to him. "Hey, how'd you get over there?" He turned, startled, his eyes manically darting around. I was horrified to see his body was covered in deep cuts and his clothes were shredded. What the hell happened? I asked in shock, but he was too scared to speak. He looked up, so I shone the light where he was looking and saw the razor wire on top of the fence was dripping with his blood. What the hell? What the hell did you do? I exclaimed, but when I shone the light back on his face, he was frozen with fear, staring wide-eyed at something behind me. He gasped for air in panic,
before finally forcing out his words.
For God's sake, man. Climb the fence!
Oh, for a minute there, I thought that was shiny. Still, it's a heat trim.
An incident on a snowy mountain.
Carl, what did you do?
A photographer went to a snowy mountain with his assistant, commissioned to take a few pictures for a magazine article. They stayed at a log cabin, and a few days had passed when the assistant had an accident and injured himself. At that point, their work was still unfinished, and they felt they could not go home unless they finished it first. So, they decided to stay on the mountain. However, their injury got worse and worse, until the assistant suddenly died from it a couple of days later. But even so, the photographer would not go home. He was very committed to his job, and to leave the work unfinished was unimaginable to him. He decided to bury the assistant by the cabin and continue to work on his own.
Damn.
The following morning, when the photographer awoke, the assistant's dead body was lying beside him. I'm sure I buried him, he thought to himself. He was deeply puzzled. He went and buried the body again before going off to take pictures. But the same thing happened again the following morning, and the morning after that. On his final day, he decided to set the camera to automatic mode and place it by his sleeping bag so he could see what went on during the night. The next morning, the dead body was there beside him as he had expected. He buried it again and then climbed down the mountain. When he got home, he developed the pictures he had taken the previous night. And there, in the pictures, he saw someone get up, go out of the cabin, carry the dead body back on the shoulder, and lay it down beside his sleeping bag.
Ouch!
That someone was none other than the photographer himself.
I think that's, we got what, one life left?
Monster. Written by Sterling Moore. On Reddit's Short Scary Stories. Narrated by Jonathan Jones. I flipped through the manila folder in my hands one more time. You'd think that being on the job as long as I have, you'd get desensitized to this sort of thing. But you don't. At least, not when it involves kids. I walk into the interrogation room. The father sits, cuffed to the table in front of him like the monster he is. He doesn't look up as I walk in. I'm here for your statement. Silence. I start laying the pictures in front of him. A small, cluttered room. Boards on the windows, padlocks on the door. A bare mattress rigged with leather restraints. A boy, unconscious in a hospital bed.
Oof. Yeah, that's game.
We have your son in custody. I stare at the top of his head. We already have evidence to put you away for a long time. Silence. The talk screen came back. My words came out hot. Difficult to keep control. We know you've been drugging him. Silence. Denial is too good for this creature. Tell me what you've done to him. We are going to find out. This time he shifts in his seat, mutters something about protecting him. He's one of those. Yeah. I know your type. My hands are on the
Yeah, YouTube does that.
I lean in. You sickos delude yourselves into believing that you are the hero for guarding your kids from the big bad world. That you're... I wasn't protecting him from anything. He finally looks up at me, expressionless, weary almost. Before I can respond, the door slams open behind me. I spin around. The child opens his mouth, unnaturally wide. He lunges.
Yikes. Alright, I'm gonna run out and see if I can find some raids real quick, Riolu.
We Were Happy. Written by Alon Braha. Narrated by Joseph Gable. Featuring Kelly Fitzgerald. Sound and music production by Jason Hornack. One day, my fiancée said that something was bothering her. My fingers were too long and slender. They made her feel like the Grim Reaper touched her at night. So I took a knife and chopped them.
What the hell?
One by one to be half as long. The bone showed a lot of resistance, but I got through after a few strong chops. My love sat with me the whole time, sharing my pain and telling me how much she appreciated what I do for her.
What the fuck?
And we were happy. As I pet her with my stumps, she looked at me and said that my eyes were asymmetrical, and it bothered her because it made me look judgmental.
This bitch is controlling.
So I took a spoon and dug out my smaller eye, leaving a dangling eyeball that I cut with scissors. That was the most painful part, but I didn't want my love to feel judged. My fiancé cleaned up the mess and afterwards came to hug and comfort me.
Got a,
And we were happy.
This is why we have serrated blades, man.
She said that my accent bothered her. It was too foreign for her taste. So I took the scissors again, and I cut until I was certain my speech wouldn't bother her ever again. It took 2 tries to sever completely, but it was worth the pain. And we were happy. A few days later, after I had recovered and returned from the hospital, I returned to work. All of my coworkers had been worried, but they just didn't understand. After work, I returned home and found a letter on the door, which read,
I'm confused. You're not the man you used to be, and I'm not sure I love the new you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll come back.
It'd be like that.
Wherever she is, she must be happy.
Fuck.
Slowly Losing Grip by Elizabeth LOL. Narrated by Otis Gyrie. Never one to dress up. Short eyeliner and a sloppy updo. For her, today was different. Figuratively, my mouth dropped, but literally, I couldn't break eye contact. Only once has she dressed this way. That was the day she promised herself to me, so today must have been special. She makes her way down the stairs towards me, and I can't help but smile. She's the prettiest thing I've ever seen. I reach out to embrace her as she nears, but there's something different, something off. She's walking towards me, but she isn't there.
Doctor, he's waking up.
I try to call out to her, but my voice catches in my throat. Everything stands still.
Increase the sedation.
She's fading away. The room is so bright. I can feel my mind being pulled away from my body, slowly losing grip.
He's waking. The sedation isn't working.
Good God, put him back under. We can't have him waking up now.
I open my eyes. Blinded at first, the room is absolute white. The pain hits. Oh God, it hurts so badly. I look down. I'm straining. My body is a mangled mess of skin and bone. There are
Right.
so many hands inside of me. I see my guts. What happened? Where am I? Why am I so asleep? She jumps into me, and I fall back, laughing. She's so lovely.
He's out again.
Good. We can't afford any unnecessary stress while we're harvesting.
Okay. While we're harvesting.
Narrated by Jonathan Jones.
Why?
Under the covers.
Kinky.
Tonight's like every other night. You lay there in the dark, in silence, alone. With no company other than your thoughts. You shift and roll throughout your bed. Just you and your thoughts. You ponder, you plan, and you fantasize. Anything to distract you from the ringing silence. Silence that surrounds you. You hear a creak. A common sound to hear on such a still night. But you still recoil when the sound hits your ears. You hear the sound almost every night, but the sheer unexpectedness sets off a trigger in your head as paranoia takes over.
You know, it's amazing this guy's lasted this long with 2 legendaries.
Are now darkened. What was once pleasure and success has now turned to demons and killers. The silence that your mind was distracting you from has now become the focus. You lay there, silent, listening for any obscure sound, hoping that the silence doesn't leave. Every little noise adds to your paranoia.
Good hit. There we go.
And the silence lingers as you await the next unexpected occurrence. You're too afraid to open your eyes at the thought of seeing anything your mind can conjure. So you lay there, alone, in fear. The fear builds up in your mind as you try to find a quick escape from anything it creates. You revert to your childhood solution, hiding under the covers. You pull the blanket over your head and lay in silence. You hear noises, but they don't seem as scary. You figure if they can't see you, you're safe. The heat builds up under your blanket.
GG.
Put up with it simply for the comfort it supplies. You begin to calm down and relax, and revert back to your usual logical self. It's just you and your thoughts again, alone under your blanket. You think of how silly it was to get so scared and worked up over a silly little noise.
It broke. What? Oh, that sucks.
Eyes closed. You lift the blanket off of your face as
Did you need an Agron?
Heat is released. You breathe a sigh of relief and roll over, only to hear a deep, grating voice whisper.
Oh, there you are.
As the sound of footsteps creep towards your bed.
Damn. I'm headed to that big one over there.
Hey, need a ride?
Yeah.
Come on, hop in.
Freaking Barbo, somebody likes
It
you.
was past midnight now, and I still had a while until I met my destination. The girl I picked up an hour ago was asleep in the seat beside me. She was a hitchhiker. I couldn't leave a teenager alone at night in the pouring rain.
Of course not.
I had to pick her up.
Yeah. Had to use chloroform.
Happy that that someone was finally giving her a ride. And I didn't know her real name, only that her friends called her Jo. She looked so calm, so peaceful. Her brown hair obscured half her gorgeous face. Her lips flexed in a barely noticeable smile.
Here we go.
She must be having a nice dream. Tried to remember the last dream I had, but I had no luck. And then I felt it. A feeling I hadn't felt in a long time. A terrible, ugly feeling. I looked down at the girl as I drove, hoping her smiling face might help me overcome and not give in to the demon within. But I could feel it clawing to get out.
Oh, shit.
I didn't want to. I couldn't. I needed to get the girl out of the car, but that would take too long. It would happen before then. I continued to struggle, fighting an inner battle. And then... no. I couldn't contain it. It happened.
Hey, John. Hey. Thank you for the follow. Where the hell did Bolt Town come from?
I let out the most monstrous fart I had ever released. It was legendary.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh, jeez.
Kind of thing kids would
John, the
stories
friend
about.
code should be down below in the information. If it's not down there, just let me know. I'll get it for you.
I looked to see if the beast that escaped my body had woken the girl. It hadn't. But the smile had faded. She looked to be having a nightmare now.
Jesus. I don't know, dude. I have no idea. That was pretty funny, though.
Thanks for listening today. I want to take a moment to ask you to support us by joining the Chilling Tales for Dark Nights members area. There are links in the video description below. For as little as $6.66 a month with an annual membership, you can help our channels grow while ensuring you never run out of the audio entertainment you know and love.
Chilling Tales for Dark Nights.
The Swing.
Oh, you're gonna Charizard it up, alright.
By Dan David. Narrated by Jeff Clement.
Hey, what the? What happened? After we get done with this raid, we're gonna do a couple of reacts, by the way. I've got some of your videos queued up. Watch.
What do people usually fear when moving out to live on their own? What sort of problems does one normally encounter when finally venturing from the safety of their parents' home into a place of their own? Perhaps it's paying their rent on time, or having to do all the cleaning without any of Mommy's help.
Okay.
These
Hold
were
on,
the
man.
things I anticipated. I never could have predicted the events of the past week. We had finally moved the last box into my new house. Single-level ranch and only 2 bedrooms.
There you go.
For a bachelor like me, it was a dream come true. The house was right in the heart of a great suburban neighborhood with a 2-car driveway and a pretty big backyard. When I had seen the yard, the first thing I thought of was all the parties I'd be hosting. I stepped onto the deck and took a breath of fresh air while closing my eyes to imagine the endless nights of friends, booze, and of course, women. I stretched my arms out and let out an exuberant sigh of relief. As I scanned my surroundings, I couldn't help but notice the elevated deck gave me the proper vantage point to see into my neighbors' backyards. I figured since I hadn't formally met any of them yet, I would try and guess now whom I'd have to worry about if my parties got too rowdy and the risk of 911 calls would become a harsh reality. To my right, I saw a vibrant garden, a grill, and a hammock. I figured it was a middle-aged couple.
Let's do this.
Hopefully they're not too old and cranky, I thought to myself as I turned my head to view my neighbors to the left. And that's when I saw him. Under a large oak tree, adorned in colorful Christmas lights, was what looked to be a young boy swinging away on his playset. Great, I thought. I bet his bedtime is a lot earlier than any party I throw would be ending. I continued to look at the boy. His back was turned to me. He wore a hoodie and gloves, which struck me as odd since it was summer and pretty warm outside. I brushed it off and assumed the boy was sick. I went back inside and began to unpack everything. With the help of some friends, we managed to put together all my furniture, hook up my home entertainment system, and more or less get the house in working order. I just sent out the text, guys. Get ready to party tonight, I exclaimed as I leaped off the couch and finished my beer.
Couch.
The guys all began to cheer, and a round of high fives were exchanged.
That's a northern thing right there.
By
Couch.
now, the sun was setting, as it had been several hours since we had first brought in all my belongings. My friend Dan was unpacking one of the last boxes as he eagerly looked out of the window.
Have you met your neighbors yet? Any fine young ladies gonna be coming around here asking to borrow some sugar?
He asked in a sarcastic tone
Man,
as he
that hurt.
turned to me with a lewd gesture. Smiling and walking over, I replied, "No, not yet, but I don't think
man.
I'll have much luck in that department."
You got
From
owned.
the looks of it, it's just a bunch of normal families. One of them even has a kid. As I pointed to the house I had seen earlier, my face scrunched to show a look of confusion and surprise. The boy I had seen swinging earlier was still there. He was still swinging under the ambience of the lit-up tree. Weird. That kid was swinging when we first got here, too, I said to Dan as he looked at his phone. Barely acknowledging my comment, he raised his hand up and mumbled,
Must be a special ed kid or something.
He walked off, calling more people to invite them to the housewarming party. I turned back to the swinging boy. He couldn't have been swinging this whole time, could he? That night, as planned, we had my housewarming party.
Oh, bummer.
It was such a great time. I greeted my friends and cousins as they arrived, handing them all the beverage of their choice. We were outside until around 3 or 4 in the morning when the weather suddenly got cool and it began to drizzle. I would have been willing to stick it out until it passed, but the girls all began to freak out, claiming their hair would frizz, and they all ran inside. Naturally, the guys followed, holding makeshift umbrellas over the girls' heads. I laughed to myself at how hard they were trying to get lucky. I took the opportunity to quickly clean up some of the trash that had accumulated before going inside. I scooped up a bunch of cans and bottles before I turned around and was left in awe. I guess we were all distracted by the music and alcohol to notice earlier, but now, with everyone inside, I saw it. The boy was still outside and on his swing. He was still in the same position and outfit I'd seen him in all day, back turned to me, wearing the same hoodie and gloves. I stood there for a minute, lost in thought, when from behind me I heard a loud, "Hiya, neighbor." I jumped and did a quick 180, dropping the trash I'd been carrying. "Oh, sorry about that, bud. Didn't mean to startle you," laughed an elderly man. He was wearing pajamas and slippers as he held his hand out, waiting for a shake on my end. "Oh."
Got him for you.
I said
Avenged.
as I cleared my throat and shook his hand, collecting my thoughts. He smiled and began to fumble with his hands. I hate to be that guy, especially since, you just moved in and everything, but you think you guys can turn down the music a bit? My wife and I are pretty light sleepers, and at this age, we tend to be early risers, he said bashfully. I smiled and laughed as I put my hand to my face in embarrassment. Jeez, I'm sorry, sir. I guess things got a little crazier than planned. I didn't
Been
think
here the
people would
whole
stick
time.
around
Well,
this
thank you,
long.
Debs.
I really did feel bad. I half expected the man to come out yelling, demanding us to keep it down lest he call the cops. His gentle demeanor was refreshing, and I was more than happy to oblige. I laughed and replied, I'll go let everyone know that they need to stay inside and take it down a notch. I'm Peter, by the way. I shook his hand. Pleasure to meet you, Peter. I'm Paul, he said.
Of course.
As he smiled, his eyes drifted past mine and towards the swinging boy. I assume you've noticed the Langers kid by now, huh? Asked Paul as he cupped his hands and breathed into them to try to keep warm. Yeah, I said as I turned to face him. What's the deal with him? He's been on that thing all day. Paul shrugged. Not sure. No one really knows the story. He just swings and swings until eventually. Paul stopped and his eyes widened. Wait. Hey, it's happening.
Ghost? No, just a regular ghost.
I turned around to find the boy had stopped swinging. He sat completely still for a moment before slowly rising from the rubber seat of the swing. He began to shake violently, falling to his knees and scraping the dirt below him. Even from where we were standing, we were able to hear his quick bursts of shrieking and gurgling.
Hey, Indian. All right, give me a minute.
I became concerned. Was the boy okay? It looked like he was having an asthma attack or a seizure.
Yes.
I started to run to the boy in order to help, but stopped after a couple of steps. His mother had run out. I looked at her, completely sober now from the adrenaline that was pumping through my body. It was not a pleasant sight. She was a frail, haggard woman with a gray, knotted mane of hair on her head. Her skin was pale and her eyes had dark bags underneath. It looked as if she hadn't slept or had a proper meal for ages. Mrs. Langer rushed out quick, holding a small, orange bottle, the kind one would receive.
Totally, man. Good morning.
After she reached her boy, she knelt down and poured several white pills into her hand. Before she could even finish offering the pills to her son, he had grabbed her arm and buried his face into the palm of her hand, inhaling the pills. Mrs. Langer pulled away and began to rub her wrist. It appeared the boy had hurt her, which did not really surprise me due to how skinny the woman was. Paul and I watched intensely without uttering a single word. After a moment or two, the boy simply rose back to his feet, sat back down on his swing, and resumed his leisurely activity. Mrs. Langer grabbed the now empty orange bottle and proceeded back inside, still clutching her wrist. Paul and I were both shaken up. We had no idea what we had just seen.
It's a ball town.
Wow. I've seen the boys spaz out before.
No, not yet.
Never that bad. I bet whatever.
I've been off and on invested in Pokemon Go, though.
Poor kid.
There's another one, John.
Paul said as he rubbed the back of his head. What? What exactly is wrong with him? I asked, with my eyes still glued to the child. Like I said, I don't know.
Watchtower
No one
database
around here
thinks
does.
you've been sitting for
Paul
too
replied,
long.
turning around and walking back to his door.
You're not
Anyway,
wrong.
My wife is probably getting worried.
But thank you.
Good night, Peter. Yeah, I sighed, arranging my thoughts. Nice meeting you, Paul. We both exchanged a final wave and returned to our respective households. The party was dying down when I entered, and I was glad. What I had just seen took a lot out of me. The next morning, I felt like shit. The copious waves of alcohol I had carelessly consumed the night prior had finally caught up to me. My head throbbed, and I was severely parched. I stood up and the arid sensation in my mouth and throat was quickly replaced by feelings of nausea. I scrambled to the bathroom and dropped to my knees, clutching the porcelain for dear life. At least I have the day off to recover, I thought to myself. I grabbed the sports drink I had strategically placed in the bathroom the day before in anticipation for my hangover and chugged it down in only a few gulps. I was no stranger to this feeling, and I knew what to expect. Within a couple of minutes, I began to vomit and immediately felt better, though not enough to have a very productive day. I mentally prepared myself for a day of movies, video games, and junk food. After a couple of hours of lying in my
like a day off.
vegetative state, I heard the mailman make his stop at my door.
Could totally go for
Knowing
Taco
we
Bell
would get
right
off
now.
the couch, I ignored it and continued binge watching the zombie show everybody was raving about. It was probably not the best idea to be observing such grotesque gore while it felt as if a war was being waged in my stomach. I sucked it up and continued to watch. Several episodes later, I made my way to the kitchen and popped in a giant TV dinner into the microwave. While it cooked, I decided I would bring in the mail from earlier. I unlocked the front door and let in some much-needed fresh air. I stood at the door and scooped up the contents of my mailbox, sifting through the junk mail and the bills when I saw I'd received a package. Without scanning the box for more details, I brought the small box inside and cut off the tape. I opened it only to find a small orange bottle, like the one I'd seen my neighbor holding last night.
Oh.
I was puzzled and searched for the mailing label on the box. The mailman had delivered it to the wrong house. Annoyed, I let out a big sigh. I was not in the mood to get dressed and leave the house for anything, let alone awkwardly meet new neighbors in order to tell them I have the pills for their weirdo son. I looked out of my back window and saw the boy was swinging away as usual. I heard my microwave go off, indicating my food was ready. With one last glance at the child, I told myself the pills can wait, as the boy had scarfed down several the night before. I tossed the bottle of pills aside and made my way to the kitchen. After eating, I felt fatigued, which caused me to fall asleep on the couch. I woke up from my sleep to the sound of commotion outside my home. The repetitive beeping of a large vehicle in reverse echoed through my brain. Nightfall had arrived, and my house was engulfed in almost absolute darkness. The only light I could see was a dull gray from my now idle television, and the swirl of red and blue illuminating through my windows. The scene that I awoke to was almost surreal, and I thought for a moment that I was dreaming. I got on my feet and I looked through my front window. A crowd had gathered on my front lawn. They were facing the ambulance that was parked in the driveway of the Langer house. I threw on a light coat to hide my stained, most likely rancid-smelling shirt I had been stewing in all day. In the crowd, Paul stood amongst several other people who I presumed to be residents of the neighborhood. Hey, Paul, I blurted as I cleared the phlegm from my throat. What the hell is going on? With his eyes still glued to the scene that unfolded next door, he replied, Well, we're not exactly sure. We think something may have happened to someone in the house. Mr. Langer is speaking with one of the paramedics and he looks panicked. I saw the man Paul was referring to. Like his wife, Mr. Langer also looked as if his body was depleted and barren. He wore a loose tank top that showed just how skinny he was. His ribs poked through the pale, tight skin on his torso.
Damn.
He was pacing around frantically, covering his eyes and mumbling something to himself. I was still gazing at the distraught man when the soft murmuring of the crowd around me erupted into a frenzy of screams and cries. I turned to the door of the Langer house, and dread began to fill my body. 2 policemen exited the house, followed by a paramedic who wheeled out a gurney. Atop of the gurney was the bloodied body of the seemingly lifeless Mrs. Langer. From where we were standing, we were able to see the pale, bruised wrist of the poor woman hanging from the side, blood running down and dripping from her fingertips. It began to twitch and her head bobbed around as the paramedic pressed an oxygen mask to her face and hoisted the gurney into the back of the ambulance. I turned to Paul, who was standing on the tip of his feet in order to see over the crowd. One of the policemen made his way over to our now frantic group of screaming men and women, ordering us to disperse and return to our homes. Everyone began to bombard the officer with questions, asking what happened and if they were safe.
You have nothing to worry about, people. It appears a group of coyotes attacked Mrs. Langer in her backyard. We've since located and neutralized the animals.
Yeah,
The
doubtful.
officer, avoiding eye contact with anyone before him. It was clear he was lying through his teeth. I raised my hand and shouted above the crowd. And what about the boy? Was he hurt? The officer shot me a look of irritation and cleared his throat as he hesitantly announced.
He was not anywhere near the scene of the attack. We assume he got scared and ran away for safety, and we're in the process of looking for the child. If anyone sees him, please call 911 immediately.
With that, the officer turned his back to the less than satisfied crowd and almost ran back to his cruiser. I turned to Paul, who bared a look of dismay. He turned and shot an apathetic smile before patting me on the back and making his way inside. I stood there for a moment, after the crowd slowly disbanded. Was this my fault? Did it have something to do with the pills? I quickly disregarded the paranoid thoughts that plagued my mind and walked back to my home. I slid through the front door that I had carelessly left
hold on a
ajar
minute.
and shut it behind me as I slid down and cupped my hands around my head. There was a legion of emotions coursing through me as I pondered my next move. I knew I had to get the pills out of my house. Though the chances were slim, I did not want any blame being directed at me for not returning the pills sooner.
It's pretty fucked up. Okay, so we're going to pause that there just for a minute. We're going to take a break from Pokemon. John, we'll hit some more here in a bit if you want to. But we have gotten some submissions, and I want to take a look at them. I'm gambling a little bit with potential copyright, but I think we'll be all right. These are a couple of, let's see, 15-minute videos and another 15-minute video. So big shout out to Watchtower for these. But let's go ahead and check them out, and let's go from there. This one's called The Other Side of the Box.
I swear, if any of those 2-inch broccoli end up on my plate, you're getting it. I have to deal with a disappointing 2 inches enough as it is.
Oh!
You are bad! Oh, that's why I like you, I guess. I mean, all 2 inches of me anyway.
Oh, God. Well, it's not a bad 2, I guess. Maybe 2.5?
Do I hear 3?
You're getting me wet.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
No, Jesus, you're getting me wet.
Wow.
All right, I'll get the door. You save the sauce.
You're getting me wet.
Oh, shit.
Wet.
It's Sean.
What is he doing here?
I don't know.
Oh, I really don't want to see him right now.
I got it.
Yeah, I got your revive.
Sean? Long time, man. Good to see you.
Hey, Ben, this is a bad time.
No, I was just, no. Yeah, sorry, do you want to come in?
Yeah, sure, that'd be great, thanks. Your mom told me where you were at.
Oh.
This is a nice place.
Oh, thanks, yeah. Where are you at now?
Same place.
Oh, cool.
Where is...
I'm
no
really
problem.
sorry everything went down,
before.
Oh, no, you know, it's water under the bridge.
Is she here?
Oh, no, she's at her parents' house right now. She's decorating.
Oh.
Ex-boyfriend?
Great.
This always goes well.
Look, I just want to give you this.
Sean, you... can I get you a drink or something?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
I just killed your mom.
Yes.
Her head's on the box.
Can you just do me a favor, though?
Yeah, of course.
Can you open it?
Yeah, of course, man. Let's open it.
I want you to know I had good intentions the whole time I was murdering her.
The box first. The card will make sense after.
Man, I better not be right. It looks too light to be that, though. What the fuck?
I don't get it. Is it supposed to... Hey, Sean?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I gotta go.
How you just gonna gift nothing and then bail? What a jerk.
What happened?
He left.
What's that?
A box.
Well, no shit. Ben? Ben.
Whoa.
Ben.
Wicked.
I need something.
What? Well, that's odd.
Voice from nowhere. Stop dropping your pencils.
Don't.
I wouldn't do that.
He gave this to you?
Yeah. There was a card.
He apologized for it. It's like a cursed item.
Dear Ben, I'm sorry about everything before and everything now, but I had to give it to someone. I don't have it all figured out, but I know it can't move while you're watching. Whatever you do, don't take your eyes off of it. It wants you to look away.
What the
Hello?
Dude, what the hell?
Hello? I'm calling Sean.
Wow.
Hey, this is Sean. Leave a message.
Sean, hey, it's Ben. Look, I don't know what this thing is that you gave me here, but, call me back. Now.
It's like you just got out of the shower.
Why is it looking at you like that?
I don't know.
What do you think it wants?
I don't know.
Call him again.
Shoot it.
Hey, this is Sean. Leave a message.
What do you think it wants?
I said I don't know.
Why is it looking at you like that?
Sean, hey, it's Ben. Look, call me back. Now.
That's not a delay, by the way. That's the...
We're getting out of here. Rachel.
We can't. We're not supposed to look away from it.
What happens if we do?
That's what we need to find out. Just for a second. Okay, we need to know what we're dealing with. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
It's coming closer. Gotcha.
Could have been worse.
What? What do you want?
I'm sorry. I gotta go. Just Ben. Don't let him leave the house. It can't move as long as we're looking at it, right? That's what it says?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find Sean. I don't know why he did this, but I'm gonna find out.
Set up a camera. I mean, by proxy, you're always looking at it with a camera, so, you know.
One of us has to stay and watch it.
Maybe it's too easy.
What? No, don't leave me alone here with this thing.
It's fine, we don't even know what it is, okay? It could be harmless.
Is that what you think?
About time somebody gets a weapon.
You know it has to be me, right? You heard what Sean said.
Not let you leave the house, that's exactly what it wants. Just be quick.
Real quick.
Hey, this is Sean. Leave a message. Hey, this is Sean. Leave a message. Hey, this is Sean. Leave a message.
Sean, answer the phone. I don't know why you did this, but I'm gonna find out. And told us what you said. I don't know what I could have possibly done.
What are you talking about?
Sean, why haven't you been answering?
What did you just say?
Why haven't you been answering the phone?
No, you just said it told us what I said.
Yeah, it spoke. Or echoed. It told us what you said.
What I said? What do you mean? Who's us?
Come on about me not leaving the house.
Ben, I didn't tell it to do anything. I didn't even know it could speak.
Sean, what's going on?
Ben, it's lying to you. I don't know why, but it lied to you.
Why did you give this to us?
Us. You keep saying us. Who's us?
Us, man, me and Rachel.
She was at the house. Ben, where are you right now?
I'm coming to you.
No. You have to keep your eyes on it.
I know, Rachel's watching it.
No, Ben, you! God damn it, I gave it to you! You have to keep your fucking eyes on it! Ben, don't go back. Don't you go back there!
So... he's trying to curse the new boyfriend? Oh, shit. Whoa. I'm getting the... I get like mimic vibes.
Rachel?
Yeah? What's up?
Where's the box?
Crazy, man. The hell? How would you rip out the light switches?
I see you. I see you. I see you.
This is like the blinking angels in Doctor Who. Interesting. Well, ain't that some shit? Dude, that was wicked, man. Man in the Box. Tyler Pochop. That was crazy. Thoughts? There was I could see there was a lot of inspiration from different sources in there, including SNL. Doctor Who, the Weeping Angels, the Red Button. It looked like the old boyfriend was trying to curse the new boyfriend, but of course that backfired because now the girlfriend's more than likely dead. So, crazy, dude. I like it. All right. This next one is 3 true ding-dong ditch horror stories.
One questionable activity my old friends and I would partake in when we were young was Ding Dong Ditch, where you run up to someone's door, knock or ring the bell, then run away or hide. We'd do it from time to time when we were feeling mischievous or bored. At the time, someone moved across the street from my friend Stefan, who lived a block down from me. He kept telling us how sketchy it seemed. No one would ever see them leave their house, the blinds were always closed at every window, and there were never any lights on. Yet there was always a red Toyota pickup truck in the driveway all hours of the day. No one really seemed to know who was living there or what they looked like. So one night we thought it would be a good idea to target it while we were out ding-dong ditching. My friend Jake and I hid behind a nearby car while Stefan ran up to the door. We could tell he rang the bell like 5 times, and we chuckled because of it. He finally ran for cover in a bush separating that property from the neighboring property. We waited for the door to open, but alas, it never did. So Stefan ran back to the door and rang it a bunch more times, probably closer to like 10 rings this time. As he ran for his same hiding spot, I noticed the curtains to one of the front windows move a little bit. I didn't see anyone's face, but that confirmed someone was inside the house. The door never opened, but Jake and I were afraid to yell over to him not to do it again. Stefan never looked over at us, so he never even gave us a chance to wave at him to stop there. He waited half a minute before going back to the door, but I swear before he could even ring the bell, the door pulled open, and all Jake and I saw was someone's arm reach out from the house to grab Stefan. He screamed a high-pitched scream like a girl. Jake and I looked at each other with horrified looks on our faces. Stefan managed to break free from the grip, and continued screaming as he ran past us across the street to his house. The front door to the house slammed shut. No one came out chasing after us. We followed Stefan to his house, and as soon as we got inside, I told him that was a horrible idea. Now that person would know they were neighbors. But he said he didn't care. He told his parents about it, who at first were mad at us, but sounded a bit concerned after some explaining about the aggressive way the man inside the house tried pulling him in. Still, neither of his parents wanted to go knock on the door, considering we were ding-dong ditching after all. Jake went home. I stayed over Stefan's house to sleep over.
Agreed, yeah.
His parents always complained about us being too loud after they went to sleep, so we hung out in his backyard. We were playing Pokemon on our DSs for a while and talked more about what happened across the street.
Relevant.
He said he didn't see much of the man's face and he was pretty well hidden behind the door, but he could tell it was a man by his veiny hands and strength. The man grabbed him by the collar of his shirt, so Stefan was able to free himself from the man's grip pretty easily. At some point while in the yard, I remember hearing a thump kind of noise. But I didn't even feel like it was worth bringing up to Stefan. I just made a mental note of it, and maybe he did too, who knows. Eventually it got too chilly to sit outside anymore, and we were getting a little tired, so we went back inside. We noticed it was a lot chillier on the first floor than it had been before we went outside. Stefan realized why fairly quickly. The sliding dining room window was open all the way, and a breeze of cold air was pouring in. But his parents definitely didn't open that. Something wasn't right. There was the sound of a footstep or something falling on the carpeted floor above us, in Stefan's room. It set him off screaming for his parents. The house has a very open layout, so of course they heard him and came rushing out of their room, confused and worried as hell. We pointed at the open window, then said someone's in his room upstairs. His dad ran downstairs to grab the biggest kitchen knife they had and ran back upstairs as we all waited in fear for something to happen upstairs. His mom hugged us and tried to comfort us while she called the police. Stefan's dad started to scream. Not like a scared scream or a scream out of pain, but more so an angry scream. We waited downstairs until the cops showed up, and they went up to Stefan's room. What actually happened is so disturbing. As anyone could guess, the break-in point was the window. Stefan's dad checked his son's room and heard something in the closet. Upon opening it, someone tried to lunge at him, but he immediately got one good stab in the person. What we found out minutes later was that it was the neighbor from across the street. How we knew was because Stefan instantly recognized the white sleeves he was wearing and the scabs on his hand. The man was as scary looking as we imagined. Stefan's family got a restraining order against the man and refused to live across the street from him any longer. They moved within a few months to a house in the same town. This is a story that happened a few days ago. My friends and I really like to do some crazy things such as ding-dong ditching, which is what we were doing on Friday night. I'll refer to my friends.
Yeah, oh no, I plan on watching a new nude video. I haven't seen that one yet, so we're definitely gonna watch that.
Corner house on an open
we're just kind of taking an hour and, you know,
my friend E said I should ring the bell.
Reactions and whatnot.
So
no, we're gonna get back to Pokemon.
I'm not the kind of person to not do something just because I might get in trouble for it. So I walked up to the stoop and knocked on the door and ran. We ran maybe 3 houses down behind a car so we could still get a good view of the house we just did. The guy came outside, walked around, and I think spotted either myself, E, or Ben. So he screamed "hey" at us, and we ran like normal if this happened. We all laughed it off like we usually would. Then we all agreed like a bunch of idiots that we would do the same house again. So we walked around the street to the house, and we all debated who should ring. I didn't because I just did like the last 3 houses. So we all agreed Ben should do it. So there went Ben up to the door, knocked, and ran.
Hi, Riolu.
C, B, and A were on the corner of the street along with Ben after he rang. while me and E were behind a car right across the street from the house. It was like he was waiting right at the door, because only about 5 seconds after Ben rang the bell, he came sprinting outside. He got to the bottom of his driveway and screamed, "Hey, come here now." That was my cue to run, so I sprinted as fast as I could to the corner and around the block. I kept on sprinting until I caught up to Ben, C, A, and B. We had walked about the whole street gathering our thoughts when A pointed out that E was missing. We all looked at each other, obviously very worried for him. We called him and he picked up out of breath and was demanding us to go back to the house because he was chasing him. So we went about halfway down the street, still on the phone with E, and then he dropped the bomb. The man had a gun. We knew this because E said he heard the man scream, "I'm gonna blow your fucking brains out."
Jesus.
I actually began to tear up, and we were all very worried for E. After about 5 minutes of E telling us to go back to the house, we made it to A's backyard and waited for E to make it back. He was saying he was very close, so we walked out of the backyard and there he was. We all hugged him and were so grateful he was okay. We all went to A's backyard afterwards to talk about what happened. The first thing E said was that he got the whole thing on video, so he showed us.
Whoa.
Hey, come here now! Come here now! Come here!
So what happened that I was completely unaware of was that when I ran away from behind the car, the man started chasing me. Then E apparently got up and ran the opposite way, kind of putting the man in a pickle as to who he wanted to go after. He chose E, and he ran from him almost all the way down the street before hiding under a car until he felt it was safe to run back. This was the most insane night of my life, and I couldn't thank E enough, because if it weren't for him, who knows what that guy would have done to me if he had caught up.
Wow. Damn, I didn't expect the video. That's interesting.
I was a very sheltered child, and I didn't really start going out until college, really. High school, I kind of never really went out much, so when the opportunity to do something slightly rebellious came about, I would jump on it. My cousin Rob, who was infinitely cooler than me, would hang out with me in my days before college. He'd always be down to go out and get into trouble. There was this one time he called me and told me to meet him at his house. We'd be going ding-dong ditching. I brought along my flashlight just because it was dark and there weren't many streetlights in my old neighborhood. He also brought along 2 walkie-talkies and handed me one. Houses were also a little further between than your typical suburb. Rob led the way down the road, yelling things, hitting stop signs with his hands.
Be right back.
He always had a lot more energy than me. We veered off the street and cut through some trees onto someone's property. There was nothing but a single walkway lamp on. No lights on inside or outside the house. Rob told me to run around back and wait for his signal to ring the backyard bell. He was trying to make the homeowner run back and forth, not knowing where to go. He tested the walkie-talkies and they were all good. I waited in the backyard of this property. It was extremely dark and quiet back there. To be honest, I was really scared. Rob gave the go-ahead to ring right after he rang the bell a bunch of times. I rang it twice, then ran for cover behind a bush. I waited in that bush and walkie-talkied Rob, seeing if anyone had come out front. Negative. I told him it was looking the same in the back. After a minute, he told me to go to the back door. I looked into the huge back window to see if I could see inside. There was this tall-looking piece of furniture right in front of the window, and there was this red flashing light in one corner of the room. That was about all I could see. Rob rang the bell a bunch of times again. I heard it from where I was crouching. It was my turn. I rang the bell a couple times, which yes had a different sound so you could distinguish the two. I ran back to my bush and waited again. Rob said over the walkie-talkie that nothing was happening. It was the same on my end. Why wasn't anyone answering? But I did think I could see something moving from inside the window though. Something small, told Rob over the walkie-talkie. He said I should just check it out with my flashlight. So, trying to be cool, I did. I flicked on the light as I got closer to the back window, and when the light shone through the window, it revealed that tall object on the other side of the window wasn't a piece of furniture. It was some creepy-looking smiling man, and the thing I saw moving was his waving hand. He walked away from the window at an unsettlingly quick speed and arrived at the back door. He opened it and started approaching me with this horrific speed-walking kind of pace, as he was asking me to come inside. I dropped the walkie-talkie and screamed and ran for Rob. He met me in the front of the house, and we saw the man from the back quickly approaching the two of us in the same speed-walking pace. What made it even worse was he didn't say anything else. We ran back to Rob's house, whose parents were already asleep. We were catching our breath in his basement when the beep of the walkie-talkie went off. There was a breathing from the other walkie-talkie, then an old man's voice whispering, "Where are you kids? I'm not gonna hurt you, I just want to give you your walkie-talkie." The fact that the frequency was reaching us in a basement meant he was close. That was the scariest part.
Wow.
We turned off the walkie-talkie out of fear and turned off all the lights. In case you're thinking this was some sweet, innocent man trying to be nice, there's no chance. He was literally chasing us, and he had this look about him that screamed child predator. We were young, but we were definitely smart enough to realize he may have been after us because of our age. We never told our parents, though, because they would have grounded us just for going out ding-dong ditching. It was just a disturbing memory we'd have to deal with. We were lucky we got away okay, though.
Dude, the first one was... I honestly don't know. I mean, like, it was pretty good, but the second one was good. The last one was good too. So good links. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and hit the latest Nuke video. I think. Oh yeah, I already started watching part of this one. Now, if you guys don't know Nuke's Top 5, this dude is huge. Does a lot of really good videos, mostly ghost videos, paranormal shit, which I'm a big fan of. And that's what we're gonna watch here. So, as far as I know, should be safe from copyright with Nuke. I've done a couple of reactions in the past, never had a problem. So, this is about 23 minutes. This will be our hour of terror, basically, and then we're going to get back to Pokemon. But I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I appreciate y'all hanging out. Big shout out to Watchtower for the recommendations. Big shout out to the lurkers and everybody. I hope you guys have had a happy Halloween, and are having a happy Halloween so far. But with that said, let's go ahead and hit this up. I'm keeping an eye on the stream because you guys said there was some problems earlier. Trying to make sure everything goes okay. So that's what I've been messing with on my phone.
So as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of horror and all things spooky. And that's why I subscribe to Shudder.com, which is by far the best horror video streaming service out there. With Shudder, you get access to great Shudder original horror movies like Superhost and the awesome horror movies and shows available on Shudder. And you can stream Shudder on all of your favorite devices. But if you're a little hesitant and maybe you're not sure, well, Shudder is now offering all Nuke's Top 5 viewers a special deal to check it out.
I gotta give them
Sign up
this.
with the code NUKE, that's N-U-K-E. You'll get an extended free 30-day trial to try Shudder and decide for yourself.
VHS.
Pretty cool.
Dude.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Anyway, so I'm a huge fan of Shudder.com, and I think you will be too. Top 5 ghosts caught on camera. Meanwhile, on TikTok. TikTok user Lacey Nicole is a theater teacher at Sarasota High School in Florida. Lacey says that there have always been stories about the ghost of, quote, Shannon, a Victorian woman who is said to haunt the high school's theater.
It's my sister's name. That's
Back
unsettling.
in 2007, during a high school production of Beauty and the Beast, many believed that Shannon the ghost made a very unexpected appearance, and it was all captured on camera.
Dude, that Windows Media Player, though. The hell? Dude. The lights might have...
The unexplained apparition of a woman in a flowing white dress can be seen floating 8 to 10 feet above the stage. Now, it should be noted that this was in no way a part of the play. So could this be the spirit of Shannon, the Victorian-era ghost that haunts the theater? Let me know what you think.
I don't know. I don't...
TikTok user
I don't know, it's kind of weird.
claims that his friends captured something very strange on their outdoor security camera.
You want me to play it? Just
yes, right now. You can go slow-mo.
Yo, what the hell?
Oh, what the frick, dude? So
Whoa!
A strange figure seems to walk across the street and then just seems to float up into the sky. Even weirder, then another large dark shadow seems to fly above the houses and disappear. Now, as always, I'm going to let you decide just what this could be because, well, I frankly have no idea.
There's some weird shit in this universe. I'll grant you that.
Something paranormal? Or if you have a more logical explanation, please let me know down in the comments. Paranormal
Wow,
Nightmare.
I don't know. That was crazy, man.
Years ago, paranormal investigators and brothers Josh, Sean, and Rocky Foreman from the YouTube channel Paranormal Nightmare TV series went out to investigate the allegedly haunted Sullivan Johnson Museum in Hardin County, Ohio. Built in 1896, the elegant three-story museum was once the private home of the Sullivan family, who lived there for over 80 years. It is said that the ghosts of several members of the Sullivan family still wander the haunted halls of the museum to this day. The Foreman brothers attempt to make contact with any spirit that might inhabit the building. Their EVP recorder captures some strange and disturbing messages.
We mean you no harm. Like I said, we're just here doing an investigation.
Are you in here?
But that's not all that the investigators capture at the Sullivan Johnson Museum. When they head down into the basement, they see something downright chilling.
Anybody down here? Jesus Christ. Did you see that? Yeah. Time to go.
Did you see it? As the brothers turn a corner, they almost walk right into what appears to be the small, dark apparition of a child.
Dude.
And its face just does not look quite human. But what do you think this bizarre figure could be? Could it just be a very odd trick of the light? Let me know down in the comments. You can watch many more amazing and creepy paranormal investigations over on the YouTube channel, Paranormal Nightmare TV series.
I don't know.
Anybody down here? Jesus Christ.
If you see a video that you think would be perfect,
You know, I'm
for the
pretty
top
sure
five,
that's
or if you have a
Nuke.
ghost hunting channel and
The
you
guy with the
caught something
glasses.
great,
I've always
contact
suspected
me at
that's Nuke looking at his phone.
nukestop5@gmail.com. Graveyard Shift.
Just recording
Now,
himself.
this next creepy video went viral in the Philippines, and hundreds of Nuke's Top 5 viewers were nice enough to send it in to me. So it definitely deserves a spot in this week's Top 5.
This dude's got over 3.5 million
One night, a
subscribers.
security guard from Davao de
It's
Oro,
really amazing, and I'm
Philippines,
really
is
proud of
patrolling
him.
a university campus all alone. Suddenly, bizarre and unexplained things begin to happen, and the frightened guard takes out his phone and starts recording the terrifying paranormal activity.
Welcome to my YouTube channel. So ngayong gabi mag-robing ako. So check natin yung mga office saka sa likod nitong building na to. Check natin kasi may mga gamit dyan. So ating oras is 12 12:17. So yan, ilag natin to. So yan guys, yung trabaho ko. Sobrang dilim. So yan, pasukin natin yan. Handahan. Yan.
Nope.
Nakabahan ako guys.
He's just like, yeah, nah, we're out. Are those shoes? No, that's not shoes. That's like bottles. It is bottles.
So check natin yung. So yun guys, narinig mo yun? Yan, narinig ko ngayon guys na naka-on yung ano, yan. Yan guys.
Whoa.
Kita niyo yung mga bangko. Yan guys. Yan, ilang tao dyan guys ha. Tapos yung electric fan sa itaas. Yan o.
Card played.
May kakaiba talaga dito guys. Kita niyo. Yan guys. Yan guys. Kita niyo.
Holy hell. Okay. Straight up, that can be done with strings. Just saying.
So, kailangan natin i-off yung ano. Sabi, nakakatakot dito guys. Sobra.
It wouldn't be easy.
Natin guys. Para kita nyo yung sadness.
Or not. What the fuck?
So, ito yung trabaho ko guys.
What?
Grabe. Sobrang nakakatakot guys.
There.
Grabe yung tinding ng balahibo ko.
I got goosebumps right now.
Kita niyo naman guys yung
that one's rocking.
Guys, so try natin off yung ano kasi naka-on yan naka-on yan so try natin off natin yan. Grabe labas na guys kasi dito kaya yung takot dito. So, yan lang guys.
Excuse me.
A door opens and slams
Wow.
shut. Ceiling fans turn on by themselves.
Dude, that's one of the best ones I've seen in a while.
Classroom chairs slide across the floor in all directions. So could it be that this university in the Philippines is haunted? Or is it all just an elaborate hoax?
No,
I decide.
I can't vibe that.
Tunnel vision. Popular urban explorer
Wow.
Chris Hill from the YouTube channel Urbex Hill
Demonic,
is back,
you're not wrong.
exploring another creepy abandoned location in his home state of Ohio. This time he travels to the Molly Stark Sanatorium, a beautiful sprawling hospital built in the 1920s for patients suffering from tuberculosis. Many of the hospital patients did not survive their stay and passed away from their terrible illness inside these hospital walls.
Yeah.
In 1995, the sanatorium was closed for good and the structure was left abandoned.
You've seen this a few
The
times on
hospital
some
was said to be
videos.
extremely haunted by the ghosts of past patients. Despite the spooky stories and legends, Chris Hill is intent on exploring the historic building and makes his way inside. Chris soon begins to feel like he might not be alone inside the old building.
Let me just stop and say something real quick. You see a lot of urban explorers do this, right? They'll turn off their lights and they'll stay silent. Okay. I've always been curious. What if what they're hearing is just another urban explorer moving around with their lights off? So you got two urban explorers at the same location, but they each think they're both a ghost hearing noises. It's always struck me. Also, big shout out to Dakota. Hopefully he's doing well. I haven't seen him tonight, and he said he was going to be here, but he might have gotten called out because of his job, so hopefully he's doing okay. We're thinking of you, buddy.
Chris quickly turns off his light as he believes he hears someone nearby, but he dismisses the sound as potentially just his imagination and continues on exploring. Deep in the basement of the sanatorium, he finds a winding concrete tunnel system. Again, the urban explorer hears something.
Oh, shit.
These tunnels are creepy as Okay, I heard something. I definitely heard something that time.
Chris is exploring all alone when he hears the last thing that you want to hear when you're down in dark tunnels beneath an allegedly haunted sanatorium. Footsteps in the dark. Now a bit freaked out, he nevertheless decides to continue through the tunnel. That's when things take a terrifying turn.
What the f is that? Yo, do you see that? Y'all.
What? Oh.
What the f? That is crazy. There's somebody down here. There's somebody down here.
Oh.
I swear I saw somebody. What the
Come play with us, Danny. It's a dead end.
It's a dead end. Oh,
Hey guys, Vsauce here. Never go down a dark tunnel. I love Vsauce.
what? I'm out of here.
Uh,
I swear I legit saw somebody.
check the barrel, dude.
And this is dead end. I'm out of here. Yo, and my shoes is sticking to the ground. This is crazy. Hell no.
When the footage is brightened, we can see that something seems to be coming towards Chris, but then suddenly disappears. But most horrifying of all, Chris follows and discovers that the tunnel is a dead end, and whoever or whatever he saw had no place to go.
I want to check the barrel. I'm just
Explorer is
saying.
now creeped out and has had enough of the spooky sanatorium. But when he tries to find his way back out of the tunnels, this happens.
Y'all will not believe this. My f***ing light died. Nah, this is some bullshit. I'm using a f***ing cell phone light. Oh, my f***ing. What? What the?
All right.
How is it not working?
As Chris is frantically searching for an exit from the dark tunnels, Chris's camera light dies at the worst possible time, even though the battery was fully charged. So with only the dim light from his cell phone to guide him, he finally manages to find his way back out. So did Chris capture the apparition of one of the hospital's deceased patients roaming the dark underground tunnels? Let me know what you think. You can watch this full two-part exploration.
That could have been like a number 4 or even a number 5.
Over on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, it was a cool shadow, but
Hill.
okay.
The Haunting of Eric Gunner. Popular YouTuber Eric Gunner claims that he has had some terrifying paranormal encounters at his home in Mexico. Eric recently purchased and moved into a new home. Bizarrely enough, the woman who previously owned the house left most of her belongings behind. Eric says he has no idea what happened to the woman, but he also says that he didn't really ask many questions because he got the house at a very good price. But soon after moving in, Eric is awakened one night by strange sounds coming from downstairs.
So we all know that if you get a house at a very good price, something's up, right? I mean, that's fairly common knowledge. If it's not, stick with it, because, yeah.
He's worried that someone might have broken into the house, and to make matters worse, the power is out and he can't seem to get a signal on his phone. He grabs a flashlight and records with his phone as he fearfully goes to investigate. What happens next is downright chilling.
Eric! Eric, come downstairs!
Creo que nunca había mostrado mi casa. Aquí es donde reciente me mudé. Hasta miedo me da gritar hola.
Whoa. Sound like a female voice.
Lo estético usa todo hasta allá. Imagínense qué tan grande está. O sea, real. Es todo este pedazo. Ay, cabrón.
Whoa. What happened?
Seguro se grabó. No.
Eric doesn't notice, but as he descends the staircase, the voice of a woman can be heard saying atrás, or in English, back, or perhaps go back.
Me choca ese teléfono.
Atrás. And then when he heads back up the stairs, the same voice seems to say sube, or go up. Then his blood runs cold, because as he looks toward the end of the hallway, he sees someone staring back at him. Now very freaked out, he reluctantly goes over to investigate. But there's no one there. Cut to a month later, and Eric is awakened in the middle of the night again, this time from the sound of someone knocking on his bedroom door.
La verdad sí pienso mucho en si bajar o no, porque le volvieron a pegar.
Ame knockers.
Voy a abrir.
DoorDash. Domino's. About fucking time, Domino's. Dude.
No hay nadie.
Sube.
Voy a dejar la luz prendida.
That is weird to let the lights on.
Entonces les estaba diciendo otra vez.
This guy sounds tortured. I'd be out, dude. Fuck the money. I'm out. No. Especially with a cross on the wall.
Someone is knocking, but when Eric opens it, again, no one there.
Probably a
Since the
smoker.
ladder to the attic is right outside his bedroom door, Eric decides to check up there. And it did not go well.
Okay, three notable things happening here. Number one, the knocking and the lights left on. Okay, obviously this spirit, whatever it is, has balls because most known spirits turn the lights off. Number two, there's a cross on the wall, and yet they're still knocking on the closest door, which means that the cross doesn't repel them, if you're going to go for that kind of thing. Number three, Nuke just said it does not go well. Whoa, what is that?
La primera vez que subo. Hace un buen de frío aquí.
Dude, what the hell?
Ese lazo se está moviendo. Y aquí hay otro cuarto, ¿ya vieron?
It was at that moment he knew he fucked up. Dios mío.
Bueno, ya vimos, ya vamos para abajo. No, o sea, de verdad
You better be careful, bro.
No entiendo por qué está pasando esto. Muchos me decían que no, que es que había sido por lo de la chica esta, de todo lo que había pasado. Escuché un ruido allá arriba.
Eric hears a sound coming from the attic, and when he looks up, he sees a horrific, distorted face staring back at him. Terrified, Eric runs and hides in his bedroom, and he stays there for the rest of the night. Eric later discovers that his pet parakeet passed away inside its cage that very night.
What? Dude! Okay, let me give a breakdown of my thoughts here. Well, before we go any further. Earlier, when you're hearing the voices, Sube, Atros, I got to admit, it was kind of a sultry, soft voice. I was kind of digging it. And then we saw the chick peeking out through the hallway, and I'm like, well, there goes that, sensation. And now, whatever the fuck he just saw upstairs has killed his bird. Jesus.
And so, he now fears for the life of his little dog.
Oh.
He decides to just pack up his stuff and move out of the house for good. You can check out more of Eric Gunner's strange encounters over on his YouTube channel, Full Gunner. Thanks for watching. Please follow me on Instagram here, and on Twitter here.
Done.
And on BitBop. I'll see you next week.
What the hell is BitBop? Why can't you people why can't people just stick with one social media? I don't get it. Still miss Zanga. Anyway, okay. So what do we think, right? That last one definitely got me, especially with the animals. Really good list. Again, I say it now. Number 2 could have been a number 4 or a number 5, but still, would have torched the place on my way out, right? I mean, you buy the house, you might as well get rid of it. But yeah, but here's the thing. Imagine if he would have gotten rid of all the stuff inside the house. I don't think you would have been able to survive. Just saying. It's pretty weird. But there's some weird shit in this world, man. And it does not surprise me. All right. Let me go ahead and... Okay, so. I want to share a story. These, honestly... might not be the craziest, but I want to share a Halloween story. I don't know if I've ever told this before, but... Could have gone either way, probably. But hey, at least he lived out every gamer's fantasy. He had a girl living in his house. Granted, apparently homicidal, but still, girlfriend. What are you going to do? Anyway, so I wanted to share this about here on the stream because when I was younger, and again, I think I may have mentioned this story before, maybe not, but as you guys know, I've been through a lot in my life. Been through a lot, and I've shared it here on the channel over the last 12 years. But one that I've really never gone into more detail on, if I have mentioned it, was hearing voices when I was a kid. Now, you gotta, hey Dakota, there you are. Dude, we were just talking about you. Hopefully you're doing okay. We're about to jump back into Pokemon, by the way. But I'm just sharing a quick story. So, you guys know I've had mental struggles. I've had mental difficulties. I've been diagnosed with something. I'm getting that looked at, possibly expanded on. But when I was a kid, about 7 or 8, I heard voices at night. We lived in a house in Dallas, here in Dallas, and it was... Mom was working 3 jobs. I was still going to school, obviously. Be dropped off, but one night she had a roommate, and it was a shared house situation. I'm trying to get the details right in my brain because it happened so long ago, but it's always kind of stuck with me, at least the vague details. I just remember hearing light speaking in the room I slept in. I had a really cool cowboy blanket. Mom still has, actually. It's a kind of creepy now that I look at it, but still, she has it. It was a blanket. It was like plaid with a big cowboy on a horse sewn into the middle of it. I used to love it. And it was also right around the time I had a Batman squirt gun that I loved. Side note on that, but those are some of the key details I remember. So I'm hearing these voices. I hear these. I don't remember what they said, but I remember Mom coming to me and she told me about it years later. She said, you know, you used to hear voices in that room. And I was like, what do you mean? I was told that apparently these voices spoke about certain events that happened in personal details. I apparently had mentioned something about I'm not going to go into too much personal detail, but stuff that had happened to me a couple of years before. And she came in one night and she said she could hear whispering as well. She was checking in on me. She heard something. Anyway, a few weeks later, from the way she explained it, they did a cleansing in the room. They had prayer warriors. If you guys don't know what prayer warriors in Christian religion, it's just a bit of like a prayer network. You have groups of people come in, they pray over a person, pray over an area, you know, whatever. They'll do it for a few hours just to kind of cleanse your room, send out positive energy, whatnot. You know, she was really big into church, so she had some friends come over and cleanse the room. Come to find out, these voices that she heard was just brief whisperings. But she said that I went into even more detail in them telling me about things that happened to me, that happened to my sister, things that had happened in the house. But I can never remember the details. Like, there's a mental block there. She doesn't exactly remember either. She just remembers me telling her things that she knew and she didn't know about. So there was always a bit of a mixture of, it was stuff that happened to me and I pushed it down mentally, but at the same time I was telling her details that I wouldn't have known, such as stuff that happened between me and my father, or stuff that happened between her and my father, stuff that happened with my sister, with my grandmother, so on and so forth. So, you know, it's not necessarily a scary story, but after watching all this and you listen to stuff, there's always a grain of truth in fables and ghost stories and whatnot. Some of them obviously are made up, no real truth, but others, others are recollections that manifest, I think, in some ways. And the human mind is capable of a lot of scary shit, as well as this universe. And I pride myself on being open-minded, to believe that anything is fucking possible. And I'm not so narrow-minded to believe that nothing is fucking possible, because it's nuts, man. It's nuts. Things exorcists and faith healers, and you got prayer warriors. Kind of cool in my book. Yeah, it's fair. It's definitely fair. I mean, you think about the people, especially people like prayer warriors or people that are religious and whatnot, and they congregate. There's a lot of mental energy being put out, either negative or positive, depending on what's happening. But there's a lot of mental energy being sent out, fed out from our brains, being spoke from our mouth, so on and so forth. Growing up around religion, I noticed these things. And, when you have a very religious household, obviously negative energy, spirits, whatever, is going to be attracted to the good. And it's also going to feed more negative. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Look, I'm not religious, but I do not doubt that mental energies and stuff unseen exists, because it's a scientific fact that our human eyes can only perceive so much. Hell, there's colors we probably haven't even seen. So there's that. Anyway, my mom and dad had a similar story, kind of. I'd been 4, and my little sister was just about to turn 8 months. They said I was like groggy, barely awake, and heard one of them say to check on us. No problem. But come to find out, that night, my mom heard my dad say that, and my dad heard my mom say, check the children. Dude, it's weird, right? I don't know, man. When you're growing up with a family, you can see mental links like that. It can jump across households. But I don't know. It's weird. But anyway, with all that said, let's get into some raids. I just wanted to share that. Let's go ahead and get some stories going again. And thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you've enjoyed everything tonight. What were we doing? Okay, so we're gonna go for about another hour, and then I'm gonna have to call it a night. I gotta get something to eat. I'm probably gonna cook a pizza and chill out. But thank you guys for such an awesome stream so far. A big shout out to everybody. So let's get started. More stories coming at you.
Start, be aware names have been changed to protect the innocent and to ensure the accused receives a fair trial. No matter how great we men think our lives will turn out, some unseen force can always come along and derail us, sometimes permanently, from our course. Whether we achieve the
Riolu,
with the 2.5 children, or end up living with our parents, a single, childless incel at 45, no one can predict their future. Perhaps the best way for me to illustrate my point is to tell you the story of Darren Sellers, my former best friend. No matter if we would have grown up in Dallas or the little hick town we were doomed to reside in, Darren would have been a special kid. Doctor, lawyer, pro football player, he could have excelled at any profession he put his mind to. Since childhood, he was always that kid that did better than his peers at everything. I know he was speaking at an abnormally early age and reading by 4. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if he came out of his mother's womb potty-trained. I think you get the idea. He was a very special kid that should have become someone great.
Holy hell, really?
Except he didn't. By high school, he was already beginning to show some...
Alright, Watchtower, man. Thanks for hanging out.
Time that he and I always enjoyed.
Thanks for the video recommendations, by the way.
Skulls and antlers from
Have a good day tomorrow. Happy Halloween.
Eventually evolve into killing and skinning neighborhood pets for him.
Jesus.
While I found this aspect of the hobby to be a strange tangent to take, it wasn't odd enough to affect our relationship. The way he would treat his girlfriends, however, would. Growing up in a very small town, we'd known almost every girl since kindergarten, Some had been close friends. Either way, because of his popularity, he had his pick of them. Regardless of who she was, if Darren decided to date her, he would always end up treating her badly.
Tiring out. It's been a long day.
A committed relationship meant nothing to him. A lot of really kind girls would get their hearts broken because of him, but to be honest, they would be the lucky ones. Sarah, a very smart and cute girl, was with Darren on and off for several years. She would break up.
You want
with
to
him
hit a max
after
raid,
he
or if
hit
y'all have
her,
a raid,
but
let me know and
go
we'll hit
back
some
after
up.
he apologized.
I'm not seeing any my way,
A week
unfortunately.
didn't go by that I wouldn't have to give
And then
him
again, let me
chewing
double check.
out for his behavior, but it made no difference. It was like his body had been taken over by the soul of a stranger, and the guy I had grown up with was fading into the background. None of this would hurt his standing at the school. He graduated first in our
Hi,
class
Riolu.
and
Have a good
received
night,
full
man.
ride to Texas A&M. I was no slouch myself, coming in at 6th out of the class of 100, but for me, I'd have to get scholarships if I wanted to go to college. After deciding on UT in Austin, Darren and I went our separate ways. We wouldn't see each other for almost 2 years, and
Gonna go
when
hunting
we
for a little
finally
bit.
did get together to catch up, things had changed drastically. I hadn't returned home my entire first year. Money was far more important to me, and little still existed to draw me back when I wasn't working. Darren and I spoke maybe a handful of times. Never during any of those conversations did he mention problems at A&M. However, during a phone call
Go ride a
with my
small
folks
dude, you
just before Christmas
should.
break, my sophomore year,
Ooh, we got a lot of raids
my
over
mom
here.
said that Darren had dropped out of college and returned home a month prior.
Hello, Snorlax.
I'd already made plans to visit for a week during the holiday.
Man.
Now, I had a lot of questions to ask. We met up my first night in town and drove to Dallas to visit a club or two. I decided not to deluge Darren with a bunch of questions. He would probably fill me in when he was ready. While sitting at the first club, he finally opened up about his time at College Station. Things had been going well for a while, until he started smoking more and attending class less. The anonymity among all those strangers made it hard to make friends. The few people he did meet would lead him down a dark path. He said by the start of year 2, he knew his days were numbered, so he dropped out to save the school the trouble of kicking him out. This is a much different person than the one I'd left just a year and a half prior. I'd never known Darren to embrace failure. Other than the goatee and
decent
long hair,
raids
he
going
appeared to
on.
be the same, but now he just didn't seem to care about what happened to him. Going from a full scholarship at A&M to delivering pizzas would have destroyed the old Darren, but now he acted like he loved his new life. While driving to our next stop, he suggested we pick
Dakota,
up
do you want to hit some
a
raids,
girl
or
and have some fun
he's
with
kind of
her.
lurking tonight?
I laughed at first, thinking he meant maybe buying some sort of Lady of the Night or something. I said, "Yeah, right, I'll save my money, thank you." I'd misinterpreted his meaning. He said he meant that we should grab a girl from the street and take turns with her.
What the hell?
The suggestion shocked me. I looked over his face, trying to find a sign that he was joking, but couldn't. For a few minutes, nothing was said between us. I still couldn't believe what he'd said. Then an odd idea struck me out of nowhere. Have you done this kind of thing before? He hesitated at first, but eventually admitted he and his friends had
Oh,
done it a few
okay,
times
dude.
back in
I get
College
it.
Station. As if it would
Hey,
make
there's
things
John.
less serious, he stressed that they never hurt the girls.
Looks like
or
he's getting the
anything.
last one in.
Once they had their fun, they drop her off and go on their way. The outright
Sorry,
disgust
hold
I
on.
felt at that moment very nearly overwhelmed me, but I held myself together. Maybe next time I visit. I had no intention of taking part in anything like that. My words were simply meant to diffuse any hostile feelings he may have been harboring at that second. All I could think of was getting away from him. I faked feeling sick and suggested we head home. He didn't seem like he was mad about it. I dodged his calls for the rest of the week and returned to Austin on Friday. We would speak one more time at the end of the school year. He was wondering if I would be coming home for the summer, but I told him I wasn't sure when I'd be back because of work. I wasn't lying. If I wanted to pay for school, I had to work almost every day to do it. He sounded a little bummed out hearing this, and for a minute I felt bad for him. However, it wasn't long until I remembered our trip to Dallas. If I'm being honest, I'd actually decided our friendship was over that night. Something that had always been lurking under the surface of his personality had been freed while he was at A&M. And now, he couldn't put it back in its cage. The second he joined the others in their fun and games, he ceased to be the friend I knew forever.
Damn.
Not long after that last call, my mom sent me an email containing a newspaper story. Although it didn't mention the name of the attacker, my mother told me later that it was Darren. I guess after he realized I wasn't coming back anytime soon, he went hunting by himself. Perhaps the most tragic part of that story is that the woman lost her life. Without the backup of his college friends, he lacked the power to control his victim and took things further than he ever needed to before, at least as far as we know. Because of the seriousness of the charges, he's been in the Collin County Jail for the past few years and has no hope of bail. Barring any mistakes made by the police, the case appears to be open and shut. That means he'll be inside for 30 years at a minimum. And for the sake of women everywhere, let's hope he never gets out.
Huh.
This happened to me during my yearly campout at Lake Texoma in North Texas. The lake itself was built during the Second World War using mainly German POW labor. It sits astride the Texas-Oklahoma border and covers roughly 89,000 acres and sees about 6 million visitors on an average year. It's, to my knowledge, still one of the biggest reservoirs in the country and my favorite place to spend my birthday. Every year, the week before or after spring break, I load my camping supplies into my car and make the 30-mile drive. My usual place to set up is Eisenhower State Park, located on the Texas side of the border and just happens to be named after Dwight D. Eisenhower, the famous World War II general and president who was born nearby. Sorry, Kansas. The cool thing about the park is that for a small fee, I can take my pick of spots that offer running water and electrical connections. Although I normally camp in a relatively traditional manner, having access to power nearby can be convenient. Perhaps the best part of camping so early in the season, the temperatures are still reasonable. You could go out as little as 2 months later and already be nearing 90+ degrees during the hottest part of the day. This also means there are far fewer other campers in the park. I've been visiting the lake since before I can remember.
Magikarp got
As a matter
owned.
of fact, one of my first memories is of me bawling my head off and holding my bloody foot. My dad sped our boat to shore in order for me to get the medical care I required, after stepping on a broken bottle. We all wore shoes in the water after that.
Oof.
In all my years of going out there, I'd never heard anything about wild packs of dogs roaming the area. While groups of wild pigs have been an ever-growing problem in our state, wild dogs not so much. Or maybe that's just my ignorance showing, and it's a bigger deal than I'm aware of. Whether it is or not, I wasn't expecting what happened my second night. I believe that evening no one else was within a mile of my camp. It was just starting to get dark, and I walked a few feet down to the water. Oftentimes, I'll sit on the shore and watch boats cross the lake with a cup of coffee and enjoy the calming sounds of the waves licking lightly at the shore. It hadn't gotten completely dark yet, but the shapes I noticed approaching me were unidentifiable. As they grew closer, I could make out the
Did y'all
shape
have to
of
go
two
up
dogs walking slowly down the
a
shore.
lot of stairs
I figured they
with a
belonged to
patient?
another camper and called out to let them know I was there. As the seconds passed, no answer came, and the dogs continued to get closer. While I'm not, nor have ever I been afraid of dogs, I do practice common sense measures with those I'm not familiar with. When they were within 10 yards of me, I saw 3 more dogs, all of differing sizes, come down the cliff at an angle from me and join the other 2 on the bank. My caution was beginning to shift into fear. Odds are that if a group of dogs form a pack without the moderating influence of a human, they become feral and can be a serious danger to
Go
any
down to the
person they
basement,
come in
back
contact
up.
with.
That haunted house was
I
set
was
up.
that person on this night, and things would only proved to get worse as it went on.
All this took place at a haunted house?
Just engage their prey drive, and I'd be run down and mauled for sure, with no other choice.
I think I have them,
stood still
but
as they approached me. The two larger dogs I had seen first began to smell me. I didn't move or pet them as they did so, while the leaders sniffed. The other three began to surround me and walk slowly toward me. Even if I'd never been scared of dogs before, this freaked me out. During this whole interaction, I did my best not to indicate that I was scared, but the nearer the other three came, the more nervous I grew. Things would come to a head when I felt one of them bump me on the back of my head. I did the worst thing I could have and jerked away. This was all the pack needed to begin attacking me. Each of the leaders had grabbed me, one on the hand and the other had a mouthful of my leg.
Damn.
The rest had ganged up and took a firm grip on my right leg. This wasn't some rough play either. I could tell that they were trying to pull me down to the ground. I quickly lost my balance and dropped to one knee.
This character's with someone in a panic attack, causing them to fall to get hurt. Holy hell, man.
One of the leaders used this as an opportunity to go for my face. However, I foresaw something like this.
Man, that'd be a hell of a thing.
With a stick before it reached me. This gave me the time I needed to return myself to standing. With a firmer stance, I started jabbing at the others. A few let go and backed off, only to renew their attack seconds later. Rage and frustration began to take over, and I started swinging wildly at them. Here and there,
trying to decide what I'm going to eat.
A scream come from the
I got some pizza in there. Still need to buy some groceries, but
I stood my ground and waited for it to begin again. But the pounding of my heart
He's still sticking with exit drill, huh?
To be safe, I walked slowly back up the hill to my camp, watching the whole time for any movement in the darkness. When I reached it, I turned up my lamps and searched for wounds. My left hand was bloody, but after washing it, I could see it wasn't as bad as I had feared. The bad bites were to the back and sides of my calves. The best I could do was clean and wrap them until help could get to me. The gates didn't close until 10 p.m. that day, so the ambulance was able to scoop me up and get me to a hospital.
Doctor wonders why I have the back problems at 22. 67 years in fire and EMS does damage. Dude, it's a hell of a sacrifice, man. I wish I could say the same. Unfortunately, my back problems are due to genetics and my own fault.
Science has made major strides, at least in this area. The following morning, I called a friend to pick me up and take me back out to break.
I expect as I get older, and it's already been told that as I get older, I'm going to face significant more problems. But as long as I lost some weight, as long as I exercised a bit more, it'll definitely help. So, working on it.
For all I know, the decision was made to handle the problem quietly and avoid any hits to the coming tourist season. The last few times I have camped there since the attack, I haven't encountered any feral dogs, so perhaps that's what was done. My run-in with the dogs motivated me to finally get my license to carry a handgun. I've been wanting to do it since the law was passed, but could never justify it to myself. In addition to carrying while out and about in public, concealed to prevent any problems with the general population, I'm legally allowed to bring my pistol along with me when I go camping. Since I believe self-protection is a right, I probably would have had it with me whether it was legal or not, but thankfully I don't have to take that chance. My goal by sharing this is not to create fear among others who love staying in the outdoors. I simply want to remind people that even in places we feel comfortable,
CPR, I don't look like I need coded myself. Oh shit.
So if you're ever visiting Texas, I highly recommend Lake Texoma and the attractions around it. Just be sure to wear your life jacket when you're on the water. Don't drink too much and keep your eyes out for the creatures who share the land with you. Whether they're rattlesnakes or feral dogs, one misstep or loss of concentration could really ruin your day.
These aren't really so much scary as like 911 stories.
Nicholas Patrick Barclay was born on December 31st, 1980. The San Antonio native was the youngest of 3 children, and by the age of 13, had acquired quite the reputation for being a bad seed.
This is really annoying.
He had been violent and verbally abusive towards his mother, Beverly, multiple times. On such occasions, police would have to be called to calm him down. The problem didn't stop at home, however. Nicholas would often skip school, and when he did attend, trouble followed him, going even as far as threatening one of his teachers. The 13-year-old also had a criminal record. Incidents such as stealing a pair of shoes and breaking into a convenience store were among his crimes. Because of his past, it was no surprise the people around him didn't take what happened very seriously at first. On June 13th, 1994, Nicholas's mother gave him $5 to go and play basketball with some friends down at the park. A little later, he called home to get a ride from his mother, but because Beverly worked nights and slept during the day, Nicholas's brother refused to wake her. The boy wouldn't be heard from again after that. He'd run away before and return in a day or two, so no one was really concerned, at least at first. Even when the cops did get involved, they were confident that he had been found quickly. How far could a kid get on $5 anyway, right? The only problem was he wasn't found, and as the weeks
Depends when I have my
passed,
podcast playlist, or I'm able to tell myself.
Beverly believed her son.
Yeah, they're kind of.
Taken a ride home
I mean, I hate to say it. I like the narrator, but it's kind of mediocre.
1994,
but
just 3
stick
months
with
after his disappearance, something strange would happen. Nicholas's older brother, Jason, called into the police to report someone breaking into the family's garage. The perpetrator was gone by the time the cops arrived. However, the older brother would swear the person committing the break-in was Nicholas. After a search of the surrounding neighborhood, no sign of him was found. This led the police and the young men's mother to believe he had made up the story, but no one could understand why. If Nicholas was truly there that night, it would have been the last documented sighting of him. The Barclay family would have to carry on with their lives, all the time harboring the hope Nicholas would return on his own or be found by law enforcement, but as time had passed, it looked less and less likely that they'd ever see their loved one again. 3 years would pass before anything new would be heard concerning Nicholas's disappearance, and would come from a very unexpected place. San Antonio police received a phone call from a man working
These are all in
a
Texas.
youth shelter in Linares, Spain, in October of 1997. A young man had been found
Here we go
in
again.
a phone booth and brought into the shelter. The man from the shelter believed him to be Nicholas Barclay. The young man claimed to have escaped from a child trafficking ring where he had been abused since he went missing. Despite being relatively healthy, the young man had no memory of his past life. Unable to contain her joy, Nicholas's half-sister, Carrie Gibson, hopped on a plane and headed for Spain. The boy wouldn't leave his room at first, afraid he
noted.
wouldn't be recognized. His fears would soon be put to rest, however, although the young man before her didn't quite resemble the boy
Should
she
share it in
remembered.
Discord, though.
She chalked this up to the passage of time and confirmed
Like in the,
he was indeed Nicholas.
Discord chat.
Now, finally being reunited, the pair sat looking through family photo albums Carrie had brought with her, all the time attempting to shake some memory loose in her traumatized brother's mind. Gradually, bit by bit, the young man's memories appeared to be coming back to him.
I'm
but
so done
he
with this
remained
battle.
quiet, likely because of all the abuse he was believed to have experienced. After taking a test identifying family members from pictures, he passed after making only one mistake and was decided by authorities to be the real Nicholas Barclay. He was cleared to return home. He and Carrie hopped on a plane, eager to be reunited with
Few
the
weeks.
rest of their thankful and relieved family.
Brilliant Pearl.
Although Carrie and Beverly were overjoyed to have him back again,
Nice.
there were others in the family very suspicious of the young man. The fact that Nicholas had blonde hair and blue eyes before his abduction, and came back with dark brown hair and eyes, was the source of much distrust. Not to mention the fact that he now spoke with a French accent. He had a reason for all of this, of course. The individuals who had abducted him had chemically dyed his hair and eyes to make him unrecognizable. The accent was just a side effect of spending so much time living in Europe. The women wanted to believe this so much,
Let's go ahead and use
they
spoilers. That's
easily
fine.
accepted his explanation. However, for the rest, the questions were not going away that easily. His mother was eager to help him take back his former life. She enrolled him in school, and after a while, Nicholas seemed to become more comfortable at home. The media, never willing to let a good story go by, continued to badger the family for an interview. They would eventually relent, picking hard copy to tell their story in February of '98. Charlie Parker, a private investigator working for the show, would notice something off about Nicholas's ears. They were different. Since ears are like fingerprints and never change throughout a person's life, this anomaly was an important one. Parker would compare pictures of Nicholas taken when he was younger to ones of the newly returned Nicholas and came to the conclusion the two boys were not the same person. This was just the opportunity the rest of the family had been waiting for. A long struggle would break out in the courts between Nicholas, those who believed his story, and those who did not. The court would finally order fingerprints and DNA tests be taken. The results of those tests would be nothing anyone could have expected. It turned out that the shy young man who had been found in Spain was not Nicholas Barclay. Instead, his name was Frédéric Bourdin, a French-born 23-year-old. Bourdin was a serial impersonator, thought to have taken the identities of up to 500 people. He had gotten Nicholas's information from a missing child center. Nicholas Barclay was the first of 3 missing children whose identities would be taken by Bourdin. He said that he had spread the story of lies about the human trafficking ring, getting as much media attention as he could to make Nicholas more real and to make people love him even more to know what had happened. Now that the family knew the truth, did they throw Bourdin forcibly from their lives? No. As a matter of fact, they attempted to keep him. This odd reaction caused the police to begin to look at the family with an eye of suspicion. They felt this had to mean the family had something to hide. Jason's phone call to the police in September of 1994 took on a whole new angle. According to him, it's not uncommon in murder cases for a call to be made to convince people that someone is alive. Before he could be questioned, Nicholas's older brother died from a possibly intentional drug overdose. With his death, the case has gone cold, although private investigators still work it today. Jason appears to be the prime suspect, but since he's dead, we may never know what happened to Nicholas Barclay. Bourdin spent 6 years in prison for his crime. Upon his release, he returned to Europe and continued with his grifting for a while, but would eventually marry and start a family in 2007. He is convinced that Nicholas Barclay was murdered. Bourdin himself called the police to report as much, once claiming Beverly had even admitted to it. However, nothing would materialize in light of Jason's death.
Give that a
There's
minute.
an amazing documentary available on YouTube right now called The Imposter. It should do a great job of filling in any gaps I've left. I feel Nicholas's disappearance tends to get lost in the strangeness of what happened with Frédéric Bourdin, so I'm including a description of the real Nicholas and what he was wearing the day he went missing. For the sake of all those who hold him dear, let's hope he returns to them alive and well. Nicholas, whose nickname was Nicky, is a Caucasian male with light brown hair and blue eyes. He has tattoos of the letters J on his left shoulder, T on his left hand between his thumb and forefinger, and the letters L and N on his outer left ankle. He also had a gap between his front teeth. He has been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. Nicholas was last seen wearing a white t-shirt, purple pants, and black sneakers. He was seen carrying a pink backpack.
The narrator's
Now,
good.
A month before my
He's got a
grandpa
decent,
passed, he sat me down and
decent
told me a
voice.
story about his childhood in Texas. To my knowledge, very little has been said concerning this time in his life. Perhaps that's why what I was about to hear shocked me so deeply. Somewhere in the wide expanse of the forest between the Louisiana line and Paris, I dare not be any more specific than this, my family had a small bit of land, roughly 150 acres. This was a lot more than most, but with generation after generation staying on the land, room got scarce quick. My people had been about the area since Texas was still its own country, and life back in those days was no place for the meek. Squabbles were handled between neighbors, and the law often came at the end of a gun. My daddy had me out, hunting for food as soon as I could shoot. This was Depression times, and folks did whatever they could to make ends meet. My mother had an older brother who'd already been in and out of the penitentiary twice for making liquor. When my schooling or chores didn't see me busy, I'd make a little money watching over the still. The local law dogs generally turned a blind eye to folks' personal enterprises and sometimes engaged in the practice themselves. Government revenue agents were the real thorn in our side. Their meddlesome ways could derail a man's income for an entire season, and this was in a time legitimate jobs were thin on the ground. As I said, during the winter months, I'd make a bit watching over my uncle's still, stuck off in the far corner of the property. Revenue agents always being a burden on us, I was to keep a keen eye out for them and dissuade any other folk of a curious disposition from walking up on the manufacturing. Being a pretty young man at the time, near on 12 years old, I could pretend I was merely hunting and draw no attention if the agent spotted me. Both barrels from my shotgun notified those working the still of any undesired folks approaching, and I was to walk away none the wiser of their fate.
Oh, well, yeah, scary Texas stories. That makes sense. Let me, if it's cool with you, Coda, I'm going to take a look at this story. Is it cool to share this on stream? Or no? Oof. Okay. So, in my 6 going on 7 years in the fire and EMS, I've run many calls on the interstate. There's one creepy and gory story I can recall involving a tractor-trailer incident. We arrive on scene to a tractor-trailer hauling rebar that rear-ended another rig. We begin talking to the driver, assessing his condition, and this goes on for about roughly 5 to 10 minutes. We then realize the rebar isn't through the cab, went through the cab, and into the driver's head. Ooh. We'd been talking to a dead man, because anything we did would have fully killed him. We were all shocked he talked as long as he did, and that it took us that long to notice. Damn. So, he was a dead man because anything you would have done would have killed him, but he was still mentally operating, basically. You were able to engage with him? That's pretty crazy, man. Man, that's nuts. Well, I hate to say it, I might have to call it tonight. Kind of sucks. My back's killing me. I gotta get something to eat. But, I wanted to thank all y'all. And, for chilling out, hanging out, and lurking a bit. Big shout out to Dakota for, doing what he does, and especially tonight of all nights. Had to have been crazy. I wish you a quick recovery on your back, man. At least, you know, for today, what happened. But big shout out to everybody, especially Riolu and Watchtower. Revive was here earlier. Goku. You guys really lit up chat tonight. I'm glad y'all enjoyed the stories as well. Big shout out to Indian. He popped in. I gotta check out his message. John was here. We had a really good day of streaming, man. It was really awesome. A really good holiday. Yeah, I can't thank y'all enough. Dabs was here as well. Did I miss somebody? I feel like I did. Sim. Yeah, Sim popped in. Cole was here earlier as well. We got 2 new followers. John, Cole, and Takeaway. Again, welcome to the squad, y'all. So yeah, we've covered a lot. Man, we've covered a lot. We did Last of Us 2. We finally did a Pokemon stream. No shinies, not yet. I'm still working on Florence's Obstagoon. But we have Brilliant Pearl and Shining Diamond. I forget the names. Diamond and Pearl coming out. We'll be hitting that on launch day. Potentially late, depending on if I have to work. But we'll see. So with that, looking forward to more. And of course, next Sunday, there may or may not be a stream. I'm honestly not sure to continue The Last of Us. I'll keep y'all updated. But I may have a friend coming out to stay a day or two, hang out and, do whatever. So, thank you. Have a good night, man. Get some food and rest your back. Thank you, dude. I appreciate that. One back due to another. That means a lot. So I hope you guys have a happy Halloween. Stay safe, stay sane. Remember, you're awesome. And even though we're coming up on the 2021 holidays, which I'm looking forward to, especially being closer to my family, never forget you're not alone. There's always somebody behind you. In a creepy and supportive way. I'll see y'all later. Peace.